Take just a second. Humana. Okay. I am live. Everyone, welcome to Political Head Trauma, where if Head Trauma had a podcast, it'd sound like this. And hopefully back here in a minute, Dave will be back on. He's having problems. We'll just try bumping him in. Can you hear us, Dave? He keeps bumping in and out. Oh, I don't know. He's got to adjust his settings. We'll let him sit and linger like that. Holly is gone today. She is finishing up her Patriot camp, doing that stuff. And while she does that...
I hear you. No.
Oh, we hear David now. While she does that, we'll do all of our sharing and humming everything else. And we'll just chat. Now, hopefully... had a guest lined up, but he got called away for work. He said he might be back. I shot him the link. So, 1 second. Anyways, he had to go handle some work stuff. And if he gets back in, hopefully he'll jump on. He is challenging Celeste Malloy from the Democrat side. So we'll give him the chance to, tell us about his motivations to run and everything. Sorry, got to do my sharing. While we just slowly spool up here. All right. Dave, do you hear us now? We'll see if Dave even finds his way on here. He's not on yet. Anyway, so I guess we may not have to, cover anything heavy today. Maybe we'll just see what's on the news. I know I want to talk about Germany. I've just heard about it everywhere. Haven't dug in deep, so maybe we'll dig in together. And yeah, this has to be. But yeah. Making sure everything's still going here. And Dave, are you there? He's dying over there with this not working. We may have to have him just call in. He can't get his sound to work or his camera.
Nope, I'm on. Here I am.
Okay.
Now.
You sounded like you were a robot invader for a second.
I'm invading Florida. So you can't see me now, can you?
Nope, we cannot see you right now.
Okay. Stand by for 1 second.
But so he's working that up. All right, everyone. So all right, talk real quick, David. Let's see if I hear you.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yep. I hear you.
All right. Well, here I am. I'm in Florida. I can hear you. You can hear me.
Yeah.
Let's take it off, and I will figure this out as we go along, I'm sure.
All right. What do you have your camera settings at?
about that?
There it is. Perfect. Perfect. So, how are things down there in Florida?
Hot. I mean, like 100-degree weather, you know?
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm wishing I was back in Utah for the summer, but unfortunately, and I'm out of beer too. No.
Oh, and the humidity down there has to be rough.
Yeah, yeah, it's I got a pool though. I mean, I have a pool. I've got my own little gazebo set up, and uh, it's a community pool, so you know you got to share it with the kids while they pee in the water. But it's still something.
That's not bad. So you get to just do you just go hang out in the pool all the time?
I've been doing my laps. It's been helping. Helps my back out. Helps my health. Keeps me invigorated. And while I'm at work, though, oh my God, I sweat. I sweat a lot.
Are you in an office?
Not often. I mean, I'm out and about. You know, the job is good. It's very busy. Um, I fit in. I'll say that much. I was
You
worried
fit
about
in?
that. Yeah, I was worried about that. You know, coming from Utah, it's a different culture down here in Florida. But
What do you mean you fit in? What were you worried about?
you know, it's a different country, so you got to adjust to the new culture. And surprisingly, it's very similar to Utah.
Really? So like what do you mean? Break down how it's really similar.
Uh, I would say where I live, Orange County, a majority of people support Trump. They're very
Okay.
conservative, and you know, just interacting with the local population here, you'll discover that they have very similar views to what we had in Utah. But the only major difference is you can't open carry like you can in Utah. You can't, you know, the gun laws are a little different. So you got to be careful with that if you're coming from Utah and you're used to just being able to sling your sidearm. But other
What
than
are
that,
their open carry laws? Like
you really can't.
I've heard there's circumstances in Florida. I heard you can if you're hunting or fishing.
Oh, yeah, and I don't really do that too often.
Yeah. Just carry a fishing pole everywhere you go.
I do avoid alligators. I've got alligators living in my backyard. Sometimes they arrive on the driveway to greet Patricia as she comes home from work or something. Oh
Where's
yeah,
she working at?
I she's working out in town. She does her
Is
thing.
she?
Yeah,
Really? How's she liking that?
she likes it here better in terms of things to do. There's more places to go out, explore. There's a beach 40 minutes away. So, you know, she's Brazilian. This fits her a lot more. I think it was a good move.
Yeah,
Now,
that and she likes city life. So,
yeah, and surprisingly, we haven't really been to the city that much at all. So,
mm,
I live pretty much next to a nature preserve, and the deer come and eat my flowers that Patricia plants. And there's a swamp. There's a big swamp, so the mosquitoes will start flying at night, and they might carry you away. So I gotta put some mosquito netting up on the porch.
you need
But
one of them really big beekeeper hats that
yeah,
drop
pretty
to the
much.
floor. How
Pretty,
big are the deer down there?
they're about I don't know. I would say they're the same size. They're not that much smaller if they are. No,
Okay.
I've only seen a couple female deer that come up on my property, but I'm sure the bucks are out there.
I know down in Florida, if you go down south, they've got the key deer, which are like the size of dozer.
Oh, really?
They went to the Keys before the flood or whatever, and they just stayed really small, and they're tiny. They're probably bigger than dozer, but
So it's
they're
like
real
eating
small.
veal.
You get a you eat them like you do a upland game bird or something, just all at once.
So what's on the show agenda today? Did you come up with a
Well,
schedule?
We had a guy scheduled named Nathaniel Woodward. He's running for the Democrat Party in CD2. And I got to meet him last weekend or last Monday. Was it Monday? Yeah, and he's a nice guy, but he got called in for work-oriented stuff last minute. So I shot him the link, and if he gets back in time or whatever, we'll be going till 6. So if he gets back at all, I told him just go ahead and jump on, and we'll just interview you then, or just even if he can only give us 15 minutes to tell us about his platform and what he wants to run with. He's a nice guy.
And he's running as a Democrat.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
think
he's challenging Celeste from the Democrat side. We've had the Republicans on. We've had, I want to say, 2 independents on. One independent, one unaffiliated. They're both coming from the Republican Party, though. So
you'd think that if you're on the Democratic team, you'd want as much opportunity to promote yourself on podcasts and things like that, especially with this race, because I really think there's a lot of disconnected people out there, disconnected from what they want out of a representative, or maybe what they think they want out of a representative. I try to follow it. I think it's interesting. Right now, you have your Green Beret, the guy that what is there? There's a second challenger in the Republican Party too, I believe. Is it Ty?
yeah, we got Ty. Though Ty, I don't think made it through the caucus.
Okay, so it's just Celeste
and Colby are official Republicans, and then there's who is it? Butler and is it Butler? And then, anyways, I've got their names listed away somewhere, and they're running Moffitt and Miller. Is that right? And they're running unaffiliated and independent. And I'd like to reach out. Yeah, but here's the deal. You'd think that if you're running in CD2, which is a big rural area, it's a large area, and maybe you could carry that if you put all your efforts into just around St. George. He's from Carbon County, I think. He's down by Price, which isn't a very big area. And maybe you could win if you threw all your efforts into St. George. But you'd think you'd want to pay attention to everywhere else,
Yeah, I always thought it was an opportunity to market your product. I look at the challengers and I'm asking myself, well, what are they offering to the peasants that they don't already have? Like, have you noticed anything new getting put on the table? Are they saying let's throw more veteran benefits down on the taxpayer, or maybe body cams for politicians, or is it just she did this and I won't?
Pretty much that. There's one conservative message out there right now. This is it. This is the only message that's conservative right now. I support Trump. I'll stop immigration, and I'll stop, wasteful whatever. And that's the message. It's a simple message. I feel like sometimes the answers are too simple. Like when I ask him, I've started asking him, so you get in, how are you going to stop X? And the hard part is I don't see a way they can do it. There's not enough of a majority in Congress. They don't touch the Senate. How are they going to stop whatever?
Are you referring to illegal immigration?
Is it government overreach, illegal? Like that thing that happened in Arkansas. Have you been watching the hearings on that?
what? I'll be honest. I'm kind of ignorant on what's going on in Arkansas. I,
Where they went to that guy's house and the ATF and I think it was ATF and Little Rock Police Department raided his house and shot him dead.
oh, well, that makes things quick.
Yeah. But they've been questioning, like, because when the SWAT team approaches, they put a piece of tape over his Ring doorbell. None of them are wearing body cams, and apparently it's coming out that ATF has a policy of wearing body cams on tactical entries. I don't know about the Little Rock, Arkansas PD, and but they're not, and so it feels like right now. It reminds me of like the late Bush, early Clinton time frame where the government, it seemed like the federal agencies then wanted to look real sexy. So they started doing a lot of tactical raids and things like that. You got Waco and Ruby Ridge. And don't get me wrong, there was reason for it because starting in about the late 70s, down around Oklahoma, Louisiana, Tennessee, there was a couple of white supremacist organizations that had started building compounds, and to fund themselves, they had started robbing banks. And they'd killed a handful of law enforcement officers down there, 4 or 5 of them.
Did this individual in Arkansas kill a law enforcement
No,
officer? No.
no,
Did
he
he
was
rob a bank?
he was the highest paid employee of the city of Little Rock. He was the manager of the Bill and Hillary Clinton Municipal Airport.
And that was his crime?
No, he would buy guns and sell them at gun shows. He would, I don't know. He would buy and trade guns at gun shows. The hard part is there's not a hard and fast law as to when, as to a number of guns you can sell before you have to obtain an FFL. He didn't have an FFL. I think he had sold somewhere between like 25 and 50 guns within a couple of years span.
That seems like a pretty harsh punishment for, you know, some sort of administrative error.
The arrest wasn't even, or the warrant wasn't even an arrest warrant. It was a phone and records warrant. They just wanted to see his phone and records. So they do a raid at 6 a.m. when you would think there'd be a better time to do that, not at 6 in the morning when it's still dark outside, you know? You'd think like 6 in the afternoon when he's coming home from work and he's carrying his briefcase in the house. You just pull up right then and say, hey, introduce yourself. How you doing? We want to see your phone and your records. We have a warrant for him. Right?
You know, I'll be honest, Jared. I think that unless it's a violent crime and you perform a no-knock attack on somebody's castle, then if things go wrong and the police officers do get in a shootout and someone gets attacked and injured or killed, there probably should be a law to protect the citizen because, you know, a fair gunfight law should be in place if you're attacking someone's citadel without letting them know who you
I
are,
agree.
why you're there, or whatnot. There should be a law that protects the peasantry to if they happen to win.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And why would it be a no-knock warrant for his phone and paperwork?
Yeah, again, I've always believed that police officers train for a mission, and so did we when we were in the military. You know, you're going to go to war. You don't really care who you're going to war against. What you're focused in on is your mission and how good you are at performing to the standard. I mean,
Yeah,
you could be going to war against the Oompa Loompa Empire. You don't care. You just want to do well at your job. And I think a lot of these police officer outfits, you know, they get their SWAT equipment. They're kind of sick of calibrating it every day. They're sick of going over the pre-checks and the safety features. They want to see how it works. They want to go out there with the battering ram and put it through your window. They want to jump through the door. They want to see if they can break down the door with the ram like the instruction manual says. It's a job. People get excited about it. I mean, even firefighters want to fight fires.
That's 100%. Matter of fact, there's been instances where firefighters have gone out and started fires. Hold on one second. I'm just seeing if this is sound is all right. But yeah, and there's been instances where they've had accidental fires, like that one that was happened over the summer up in Canada at the woman's firefighter Superman hater club meetup, and they started the biggest fire in Canadian history. I shouldn't laugh. That Jared, that's not good.
He is sexist, pig.
But it is kind of funny. It is. Hold on. We're gonna
Nothing's
have
more funny than life.
There were so many jokes made over it that that the women's firefighter meetup, they met up, started a fire that they couldn't get under control, so they had to call the men in to put it out. But that is obviously wrong of me to say.
It could be true, but it's still wrong, right?
Yes.
And that's the world we live in. I think that's the hesitation that politicians have when they say, let's fix XYZ. Getting into the nuts and bolts of fixing XYZ can be messy, especially immigration. I mean, the best way to fix immigration, just ask Kim Jong-un. He's got the best border protection on the planet at the
Just
lowest
make a
budget,
place nobody would ever want to go to.
or get out of. Good luck. I mean, the guy's got it locked down. We should take his playbook and kind of review his tactics because it's working. But you won't get many female voters at if you read the tactics. It's
Well, if you go the Kim Jong-un route, you don't worry about any voters.
Yeah. So I mean, like, democracy and functionality don't work. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying he does what he wants. Right or wrong, he does what he wants. Jeff Adamson says Lyman has been talking about eliminating the food tax and the Social Security tax. How would that work?
How would you eliminate Social Security tax? Is that even a thing that you could do without a civil war?
What was that lady's name that ran for Libertarian last go around?
Doctor something.
I forget her name.
Jorgensen.
Yes. She had a plan. She was going to sell off all the government properties and buildings and build kind of a war chest, if you will, and then have like a cutoff date. So if you're younger than, say, 30, then it just cuts off. You know, you kind of eat that whatever. Between 30 and, or no, if you're younger than 30, they get a percentage reimbursement for you to go and invest. So it gives you a lump sum that you can go and invest, or you can, you know, blow it on blow and whatever. And then from X to X, you get a larger percentage, you know, all the way up till they reach the pre-retirement age. But they use that war chest to pay off what people have invested. But after you get past, you know, say, I think it was 60 or 60, 55, whatever, Social Security is still held in place for them and floated, and then they're like the last recipients of it.
I Yeah, that really bothers me that we can't figure out how to manage to make Social Security right. It's kind of like we're holding a hot potato we can't let down, but it's going to fall. I mean, it's just a matter of how do you put it on the ground at this point. And with our particular voting system, you don't want to be the guy that stands up and says, "Hey, this ain't going to work," because you
Do
won't get
you
voted in.
do you want to be the president when this thing comes off the wheels? Any of it, when our economy crashes, when 30% of the globe says we're no longer dealing in dollars, do you want to be the president then? Because
Do
that's
you think
coming.
do you think the president at that point would use some sort of force to create a dictatorship so that he could stabilize the republic?
Oh yeah, for sure. Historically, that's how it's always gone.
Hmm.
You know,
It might actually be the most sympathetic way to deal with humanity at that point too.
Not just that, but historically, it's the sanest and the most popular. Julius Caesar did exactly that.
It would be an interesting look for America. Yes, it would.
You're right. You're. It'd be wild, wouldn't it?
Well, do you have any creative ways to make Social Security fade out peacefully? Or, I mean, have you ever
That
thought about it, gamed that on the table?
Jorgensen, I think, had the best idea I ever saw. That was the best because you could reimburse people for their investment. The complicated part is selling off the government properties. That's the hard part because I wouldn't want to say, okay, we're going to put government properties up for sale. And then Xi Ping's over there going, yeah, I want to buy that building, right? Because that's exactly what would happen. The Chinese would buy up every marble building because let's face it, our government buildings are the prettiest buildings in the country.
Well,
They've
you
got the
could.
most marble and the biggest statues.
You could sell off that federal land that everyone wants to chomp at the bits to get, especially Utah. And I always wondered, everyone's fighting to get that Utah land, but who would get it if the government did let it go, and how would it be distributed? That's
Well,
also an interesting game theory I like to think about.
okay, here's the plan with that is it reverts to the states. So Utah, the state of Utah would get it. And then the state of Utah could put out bids, or the state of Utah would be there able to receive bids for development or use. So the state of Utah would then be the primary source of profit for sale or lease on those lands. Right now, it's the federal government. The federal government has no incentive to, how do I put this? The federal government has incentive to lease it out depending on political party and lease for use. So it's kind of used as a political wedge in a transparent hostage.
We just had a correction on one of our comments here that I think is important to think of. And I didn't realize that Social Security had a tax on it, but Jeff is stating that he meant the tax on Social Security. So when you get Social Security, you actually get
Oh,
taxed on that. I don't get Social Security, and I wouldn't imagine getting
you do
taxed on it.
get
I guess you do.
taxed. You get
How fair
taxed
is
on
that?
everything.
Yeah. Well, almost anything. I can think of one particular asset that you can get away without taxes if you feel like
Right
you need to.
now.
Mm. Currently, yes.
Believe me, they're angling to see how they can tax it.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. They're angling just to try to figure out how it works.
That, or what do you think? Here's a bigger question. What do you think the chance is of them? I know they had a vote in the Hold on, I'm checking the sound real quick. Um, I know they had a vote in the was it the Senate to try to make it so that the Fed can't do a CBDC, or was it CBDC?
Yes,
Is it?
that's what it is.
Yeah,
It sounds like a gummy product, but
I know.
what it
It
is
throws me like I want to walk in and go, "Hey, man." Um,
vote for CBCDs. They'll make you high. Right.
do you think they're gonna? Do you think they're gonna stop that?
I don't see how they could. I mean, if it makes sense for the government to want to do that, they can control a lot more features of their currency. And I hope they do. I think I don't think people realize the threat that they're under with fiat currency, and it's kind of fun to watch them turn up the heat so that they look for alternatives. And the sooner they look for alternatives, the sooner good things can happen. Because when people go in the right direction versus staying on course to the iceberg, you know, just more people survive at the end. But
Do you think if they put a CBDC in, that it would drive more people into Bitcoin, Ethereum,
yes,
whatever?
it'll also teach people how to use a digital currency, force them into it, and then they'll realize, oh, I don't want to use the government. Because there's great products out there that the government can't control, and then there's the ones that the government can control. But people don't want to invest the time to learn how this stuff works. It's kind of boring, you know. Nobody really wants to sit there and learn about blockchain technology and transaction IDs or Merkle tree roots. Nobody wants to do that, and I get it. It takes a good 8 hours of your life probably to figure this stuff out. And if the government does force you into a centralized digital currency, I have a feeling it probably won't be blockchain centric. It'll probably just be something like PayPal. But
Yeah.
either way, it'll definitely show them uh, how evil the government can truly be. And it's always good to know that the lion bites before you try to pet it.
Do you think they'll just rearrange the letters in Swift and call it that?
Hmm. Swift coin,
No, Swift.
yeah,
Swift, our banking telecommunication system.
yeah, the network.
They'll
I
just
mean,
rearrange the letters in that, and they'll call it you know, Wifts coin or something.
no, the Swift system can stay intact.
No, but
Uh,
what I'm saying is the Swift is a system that we use as a bludgeon against our international enemies.
and
Like,
ourselves.
well, yeah, but like we
Yeah,
get mad at Russia and we're like, we're kicking you off Swift because that's what BRICS was designed to compete with was Swift.
correct.
But it'll be just like Swift. So they'll have the government currency. It'll be fiat on one side and, you know, slaves on the other. Much like we have now, it'll just be, which right now, essentially we're at a digital currency anyway.
Yeah, everyone's using PayPal, Venmo, WhatsApp, and all these other
Debit card, credit card.
cards. Mhm.
Those are all digital currencies just because it's called the dollar. How many physical dollars do you have on your person or in your house right now?
My wife took them all.
Yeah, but how much does she have?
I don't know. I don't know what she has. All I know is I woke up and there's nothing in my wallet.
All right.
Went to go buy some cookies at work and they're all gone.
You're standing at the vending machine, tear, like an Indian that just saw someone litter.
Yeah.
So
Does your significant other do that? Do you like find her like creeping creeping dollar
how long
bills out
have
of your
you and
wallet?
Patricia been together?
I can't since the beginning of time.
See, I haven't been together with my significant that long, so no. I imagine there's a window that you pass through, and then after you pass through that window, you're just you're just
A single entity.
an extension of their will and desire. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah,
Right?
it's kind of like watching CBCDs creep up on the economy.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is, like right now, your money isn't physical. Like no matter how much cash you have in your pocket, you've got more in your bank and in your credit card and in your loans and in your equity. And your equity, you could argue that's actually real because you're sitting in it. Although the inflated or the valuation of it may be fake. So everything right now, we're living in kind of a fiat digital currency. And everyone argues, well, Bitcoin isn't real. And your dollars are. Your dollars are just an agreement. They're an imaginary agreement that you've said and everyone else has said, yeah, we'll take those for this.
Yeah, and it's everything used as a currency is quote not real. It just has to be agreed upon.
Yeah, that is true. Though some things carry more inherent value, like if you went back to precious metals, they carry more inherent value because of their usefulness. Whereas the cloth and lint dollar doesn't carry that much off the books usefulness, but neither does plastic or electronic energy. So it's all just, I guess, semi pretend.
Well, speaking of semi pretend, let's go back to the political arena in Utah.
Well, hold on. I wanted to ask you about Florida. What was the feeling there when DeSantis was still in competition? What was the feeling between him and Trump there? Were people more on the DeSantis train, or were they still on the Trump train and wanted DeSantis to stay out?
I'll be honest. I think it was probably more towards the Trump train than allowing DeSantis to overshadow him. I mean, I don't think that people would have objected to him being president here, but I mean, he has a certain charisma.
A je ne sais quoi.
He's definitely a populist.
He is. And I get the feeling there's a lot of people that want to see him finish what he started.
It's fun to watch people react to him from either side. I mean, have you ever seen America more energized? Whether you're pinging off the wall or you're celebrating with champagne, I don't know. Either way, you're involved. You're feeling it. I don't think I've ever seen America more involved in politics than these past 8 years, to be honest with you.
Very true.
Obama had a few polarizing moments, but nothing like this.
Trump has been polarizing from day one. He's
and I don't know why. I'm trying to narrow it down. Is it just his tone of voice? Is it he hasn't really done anything that most any other presidents haven't done in the past.
Well, one, he speaks more candidly.
And that bothers people.
And that bothers or enlightens people. A lot of people like that. But I think him speaking candidly, and I also think that, what was it called? The Pied Piper plan that Hillary Clinton and CNN came up with, where CNN hated him and talked about him nonstop negatively. Well, first they were neutral about him and talked about him all the time. Fox in the beginning hated him more than CNN did. And then once he started climbing in the polls, then CNN started hating him. MSNBC jumped on board. And that's when everyone got involved. I think it was a mix. And he got brainwormed in. He was like He was like the song that got played on the top 40 radio station every hour at the top of the hour. You may hate it, but you're going to end up humming it at some time during that day.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting uh, political race, that's for sure.
What do you think happens?
I'd like to say I feel like Trump's gonna win, but I just don't know if the system will allow it.
If he does, do you think that we're going to have 4 more years of summer of love?
Not really. I don't. I mean, I don't think our interest rates are going down, which is what I'm hoping for. I think it's a long shot, but I mean, I moved from Utah to Florida. I bought the same value house, and I seem to be paying twice as much.
Yeah,
You know, you know,
you took a pretty hefty hit on that.
something I think. So our VA loans, that's what I use. I use a VA loan, right? And they're really good if you want to not have a down payment. That's about the only advantage I can really see in them. If I were running for office or something like that, I would definitely make sure that veterans get a 2% out of the Federal Reserve. Something that kind of stabilizes the economy for the population that could easily dethrone the republic if they get angry. So the move was harsh in that direction. I won't lie, that was harsh. I'm twice as poor as I was, and no, nothing really changed except for the seat of power, which influences mortgage rates. A mortgage rate is everything in this economy.
Do you think it was Biden getting in that made them do that, or do you think it was the COVID response?
I'm sure it was probably a good portion of both. I would say that Biden's ability to rally the economy is not nearly as intense as Trump's. I don't
What?
think.
Hold on. Repeat that because I'm shocked. Biden rallies an economy?
Well, yeah, if you can call it that. I mean, it more or less strangles it into a higher morale. I don't know what he's doing right now
The
to keep the
whippings will
economy afloat.
continue until morale improves.
Indeed, indeed. But yeah, I'm sure the COVID response didn't help either. I mean, how much money can you just print, give away, and not ask people to be productive?
I blame at least a quarter of that on Trump.
Well, he did have the initial COVID response.
The initial, he, but I don't know exactly what he could do to keep it going, but he wanted to look good. So he forced the checks to be handed out was it the first go around where checks with his signature on them? I remember that was a big deal. He had to sign those checks himself. I'm sure it was a stamp, but
Well, it looks like I got corrected in the audience. One of the Fred actually says that a benefit to the VA loan is getting qualified when other loans won't qualify you. I don't know about that. I haven't had to really
there,
maneuver that angle, but I do know that VA loans aren't the lowest interest rates.
no, and the VA loan gets sold off immediately. It gets usually sold off within the first year and a half. There's other benefits. I think you get a free home inspection, and it's a good inspection. Um,
Maybe something with mortgage insurance too. Either way, I really think the VA loan could use a good modification for the modern soldier, if you will. So,
I wonder about our interest rate because I'm looking at like historically Volkner under Reagan raised the interest rate. And he did that to save the economy because we'd had again, and we talk about this only in COVID, but what we aren't reflecting on is we had 20 years of easy money, actually more than 20, about 20 3 years of easy money, and we had two really, really, really big and really, really, really expensive wars. And you look at that. So they came out, it was in 80 when Volkner raised the rates. And I was alive then, but I don't remember. I remember Reagan caught a lot of flack for it, but he did that to stop runaway inflation. So that when he raises the rates, people quit. The banks of initial lending quit borrowing money to because the rates are high, and everyone kind of quits borrowing money. So I'm wondering, is the Federal Reserve doing that right now? The bad news is it hit you at the worst time, where you sell your house in an up market on housing right when the rates go up. So you get a high interest rate on a inflated housing market. And I think that's where the negative touches. And the sad truth of that is, right now, Dave, there's no way out of it.
No, I don't believe there is. And another negative about a VA loan is you can't do a recasting. And for those that don't know what a recasting is let's say I end up buying a house in Florida before I sell the one in Utah, thinking I'll just put the money into the house in Florida after I sell it. Well, it doesn't change anything. So if
Yeah,
you're a recast is not allowed with a VA loan. I don't know why. That's weird. It's very inflexible, and
they're
I'm
like
just gonna,
HUD loans.
I'll be honest. I think there's a lot of room to fix that wonderful veterans benefit, and I wish somebody would take up veterans benefits as a flagpole item for running for Congress.
Yeah. I just want to point out for the listeners out there, Fred will understand this. Now, see, me and Fred are Army veterans. We expect the government to treat us like dogs. Dave is an Air Force veteran, and his idea of government treatment is of a little higher standard than mine, because I go in dealing with the government to expect to be fully bent over.
Don't worry, my expectations have been met.
It's almost like you joined the Army.
Uh,
But yeah, so I don't know. I wonder, do you think interest rates have a part to play on the the progressive college age students rioting and or protesting? I don't care whatever word you use. We know what it means. Chant by day, light fires by night. Let's call it what it is, because they seem to be doing it just fine right now. Like the other day, did you see the video in, was it New York, where the gay pride parade and the Palestinian parades, they touched, kind of got into a tussle.
really,
And I'm just like, progressives, go get it.
I would have never thought. You'd think they would just like meet up and high five each other.
Oh, let me look that up. What do you call it? Pride.
Pride Palestine. So is that a thing in Utah still? Is there a lot of pride and Palestinian riots going on about the way the Israelis are treating the war? Is that a big deal in Utah, or is that just a New York thing?
Um, yes, but I don't know. Is it a big deal? So the the Israel-Palestine conflict is there's not a lot of it out here. There's a lot of it online. Out here, most of the protesting, like the local people, the guys around here who make a cause out of everything. Most of their stuff is done on Facebook. But there still is some very limited pro-Palestine protesting in Salt Lake and obviously at the colleges, but nothing like you see at the bigger colleges. The pride events, I mean, we've got pride events going on in Tooele, I think this weekend. I think up at the
Tooele Marketplace.
Yeah, Tooele Marketplace.
Yeah.
And
I saw the ad for that.
It's a drag picnic or something.
Should be
not gonna lie, it did cross my mind to pop on a tutu and a leotard and go eat lunch, but I couldn't find eyeshadow to match my eyes, so or however you do it. But I don't know.
I don't know. It might be a pretty interesting show to pop up and kind of interview those people and see what's going on in their heads. They are a fascinating bunch, and I really think
God, you are a butthole.
Oh.
Now you put that idea out in the universe. Guess what I'm gonna have to do? Actually, I'm going self-defense shopping with a friend's older sister tomorrow morning. So my morning is at least going to be wholesome. She needs a self-defense system. So we're going to go look at some options and talk about what she's looking at.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to start such a traumatic event. You have to go over there and interview those people. But you gotta give everybody a chance to say what they think and put it on the internet for world's history. It's like graffiti on the wall of history. People got to know this stuff really happened in life, especially in Tooele.
You're probably right. I should probably at least swing through there with the phone and ask people what they're thinking.
And maybe one of them will make sense, but I think it's something to really think about. I mean, if that can happen in Tooele, a very conservative town, a town that I grew to love, it can happen anywhere except for where I am now. I don't see it happening in Orange Park, where I am. But
really,
yeah, there's too many alligators and swamps.
Well, maybe I will swing by there, even just to get a account of how many people show up. And I'm friends with a lot of people that have little small businesses there. In a lot of ways, I understand people's desire to support them. What I have a harder time understanding is when you have a desire to impose your sexuality into the world. Look, if you're a man that wants to dress like a woman, that's fine. Do your best. Go out and do your thing. I'm not going to harass you. I'm not going to come up and, throw rocks at you or put a kick me sticker on your back. But I'm 48 years old now, 49, whatever. I've got 49 years of when I see a man, I say, "What's up, dude? How you guys doing?" Things like that. You're not going to switch me out of that real easy. So, and I'm not doing it to offend you. I'm doing it. That's just a natural reaction of mine. So don't get angry at me for it. Suck it up and drive on. Today, I took Katie's oldest to Taco Time, and the individual in the window looked like a 20-something-year-old who was wearing dressed like a Taco Time employee. I guess they wear kind of a uniform, but looked like they had makeup on and long hair, like they were attempting to. And, perfectly cordial. But as I'm leaving, I say, "You guys have a good day." There were two of them in the window, how it normally stands. And that person, regardless of how they're feeling inside, just said, oh, okay, thanks, you too. And that was the appropriate way that both of us dealt with that. Now, had that person says, don't you know I'm a woman? Look, Ray Charles could see you're not. Do we have to dig through the weeds on this? Do I have to do a an algebraic equation in my head every time I engage with someone new? No.
Root cause analysis.
Yeah.
Five whys.
And I'm not, and it's not to be rude, which I'm grateful that this person was just cool about it. Just like, okay, you too. See you later,
Well, there
Just
are a
how it
lot of
should be.
trends. There are a lot of trends that are normalizing. I remember when guys started wearing earrings when I was younger, and I was like, "That's pretty freaking weird shit." But I, I don't even have a tattoo. I don't do any of that. I have my quirks, I guess. But now, the norm is for guys to paint their fingernails out here. I've noticed
To
there's
do what?
a lot of guys are painting their fingernails.
Really? Go on.
Yeah, like rainbow colors and shit. I don't think I don't think that is a taboo anymore. It's at that crossing point where this is pretty standard. Guys are going to paint their nails. It's
Hmm.
the way it is. It's the new earring in the ear. So
Hmm.
and I'm finding myself in that position where I'm a 46-year-old male. I'm stuck in my ways. I've been I've been told I'm a bit of a bully. I don't think so. I abide by the non-aggression principle, but me speaking directly and being transparent and upfront about how I feel about things is the offense of a lifetime nowadays. And people have to learn how to speak double talk or how to step on eggshells in order to exist in the economy nowadays. Otherwise, you get black marked or banned from Tooele News or something like that. It's those little groups that
The Facebook groups.
yeah, things like that, and it's sad because I feel like I give good input and I'm at least open and honest about how I feel, and the people that can't do that bottle up. They get intense. They actually become emotionally distressed in the future if they continue not to be able to express themselves properly. And it's one of the keys to staying young and healthy is being able to emotionally express yourself properly.
Well, I love watching the individual that runs said group that gets mad at you and bans everyone. He's always mad at another same type group because they banned him. And I find it kind of comical. The whole pot and kettle thing comes to mind. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Dave, they love opinions as long as it's theirs.
I don't even know if it's theirs, Jared. I think the opinion is put out by proper authorities and everyone gets in line. And I don't know how that opinion is inserted into our culture, but I think it has a lot to do with money and power
So
and the people that wield it.
the individual you're talking about, we had him on our show, correct?
Yeah, that's the guy.
So you think maybe he doesn't earnestly support that opinion, or do you think that maybe he's a hanger on to whatever new thing comes down the pike?
I think a lot of people want social acceptance. And
That is very true. Do you think he's one of those?
uh
Because I could see it if you think that. I could, because I've seen him post some stuff that makes you think, hey, look at me. I'm a good person. I want attention.
right. A lot of people are virtue signaling nowadays to try to
Mm,
fit in. Or maybe it's a protectionist thing because if you don't virtue signal, your group will attack you.
that's true.
I mean, if you're not part of that group is insane. They ping off the wall. That I don't know how any other way to put it. And I imagine that stuff can become violent and scary.
Maybe not violent. I mean, I imagine those guys could tear through a piece of paper, but two or three, stopping them dead. But
I'll tell you what, I've seen some videos of these Palestinian protests.
I think those are different.
Black Lives Matters. These are the people that
Those are different.
curate the narrative.
Those are violent people looking for an outlet, I think. I think the people who go on Facebook and stomp their feet are not violent people looking for an outlet. But I think when we see those violence on the different protests, I don't even think those people are supporters of any cause. I think they're just sociopaths looking for something to do. The ones that commit the violence.
Yeah, I don't know. I can just tell you what I see in my observations, what I hear about people getting transported into buses to particular protests, and that stuff all costs money. That stuff requires leadership of some sort.
Well,
So,
okay, you've got communists that pay for that and manage it. And then you've got the regular protests, which are regular people, that have an emotional drive for X or whatever, and they want to go out and yell and scream and they want to chant, and then when they're done, they want to go to slam poetry and drink a Michelob Ultra and do those things. And I think on the outskirts of that, and I could be 100% wrong, I think you got sociopaths, guys that want to hurt people. They're the guys that if they don't have that going on, they would generally find themselves at a bar picking fights. They would travel in a group of 4 or 5, like the kids down in Arizona. What do they call them? The goons. There's a gang of like high school kids in Arizona that's killed a kid, beat him to death. Just barely happened. What do they call them? I can't remember. They call them the goons or something. They're just kind of sociopaths. That's their fun. That's their entertainment. I could be wrong, but that's what I feel like it is. Because then, of course, you got like Soros, and then they just pay for it. They just want to disrupt the world.
yeah, and I do believe that those people that hold the financial resources and the power, they insert these narratives and they grow these weird cultures somehow in petri dishes or something inside of their incubators. And then
Mm-hmm.
they release this stuff out onto the world. It's like social Wuhan.
Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, so I, I like to avoid that stuff as much as I can around this area because I have a heavily populated city I live in. Jacksonville's over 1 million people. That's like 1/4 of the entire population of Utah.
That's
So
like
yeah,
what would that be? Somewhere close to like 400. That would be somewhere close to 15 Tooele counties in one town.
yeah, and that makes for an interesting mix. You'll have the news going on, and what goes on in Jacksonville alone is equivalent to say the whole of Utah's news happenings. Anything that could happen within the whole of Utah seems to happen just within the span of days here in Jacksonville, especially the shootings and things like that. Unfortunately,
Mm. Fred says interest rates are part of the communist efforts to damage this country. I agree. It's a part of growing control into unelected bureaucrats. And if anyone thinks the Federal Reserve is not unelected bureaucrats, you're high, because we don't get to elect them. We don't get to throw them out. Most of the time, we don't really even know who they are. And then he says WTEF. What does that mean?
I think he was talking about your possible interview sessions over there at the transgender
Oh,
show.
oh, when he says, what time is the Pride thing in Tooele? I don't know. I'm going self-defense shopping in the morning, and then I'll probably swing through there just to see what's going on. I'll take the microphone with me, and if I get an interview, I get an interview. I mean, talk to people, ask them how things are going.
Now, would Holly go with you to do that interview?
Oh, I'll ask her. I'll ask her. We'll see what she's got going on. She's got her Patriot camp's been going on all week. She might. I don't know.
I'll be honest, it would be an interesting show. I mean,
Probably would.
just knowing that goes on in Tooele kind of just makes me feel like things have changed since I left.
Well, in Tooele, they're doing that. And in Grantsville, they've got in Grantsville this weekend, I think they've got a Ivy Animal Farm petting baby animal event. So, it's just the duality of the two cities. Jeff Adamson says students here have been instructed how they feel and when/how to protest without outside influence. Most would be neutral. Yeah. Though they've been indoctrinated. Look, here's the truth. We hand our kids over to the school system. The school system have taken the youth that are becoming teachers and they have indoctrinated them. And so you hand your kids over to the school system and that's what you get. We had Nicolene Peck on last week. That was an awesome interview. And we barely talked about her run for House 28. Her work on raising kids and building culture, I think, is one of the most important things to come out of this county right now.
Now, does she run pods or homeschool organizations?
She's an author. She's an author. She cruises around the country and gives speeches on how to raise kids so that they're self-governing. She also has a podcast, Nicolene Peck on YouTube or whatever. If you're raised, what's that?
We interviewed her together one time, I believe.
Did we have Nicolene on one time? I don't think we did. Did we? I don't remember it.
We did.
But no, this lady, she's doing the Lord's work. Maybe Fred will go there and be my co-host on this on the Pride interview stuff.
He'd fit in. Yeah.
Yeah. Me and old Fred running through it. But let me I'm gonna do a story share real quick so you guys we can read this this story. Let me get everything popped in here. Okay, so in Philadelphia, anti-Israel protesters block and disrupt Philadelphia's annual gay pride parade. They touch tips, you know what I'm saying? Played a little bit of D-chicken. So anti-Israel protesters at Philadelphia have shut down the city's annual pride parade, blocking individuals from marching in the streets and chanting slogans comparing Israel to another infamous racist groups. According to videos posted of the event online Sunday, dozens of protesters stood in the middle of the street to block drum lines and dance troops. God, just
You got to ask yourself, like, all that human potential to do something productive on a Saturday, they choose to do that. It's so much potential lost when they have these weird pride parades, protests. So I don't even know what they're protesting in the palace. They're just like angry that they're using bombs, or they want the Jews to die? I don't even understand what their demands are, but it's still,
That's
where do they get the money to take that kind of time off? I don't know.
that's the question. What do they look? You can definitely carry sympathy for the plight of the Palestinians, um, where their land wasn't necessarily stolen. I'm sure some of it was and some it wasn't. I don't know the whole history, but let's just face it. A group moved there, and let's say all on the up and up. We go off exactly what everyone said, or the pro-Israeli lobby says. A group moved there in mass with a goal and purchased or bartered for this property, and then it became theirs, and then they amassed a block of voters. The Mormons, the same thing happened to them in Ohio. They moved there, they purchased land, they became a block of voters, and then they got run out. Um, but what do you want to be done now? Do you want to have all the Israelis like just thrown out? And where do you send them?
Well,
You
I
know?
don't know. I don't know if you've seen on Facebook, but there's a lot of propaganda for Palestine. I've seen the
Oh,
pictures
it's
of the blown up babies and all this other crap, and the Jews don't exactly have anything going on. I mean, you
well,
try
it's
to talk to
because
them about October 7th, and they want to censor every video there is. So I don't know. I don't see any really good, productive propaganda about October 7 and all the destruction that they had to endure, because they want to censor all of the videos and pictures and protect us from ourselves from seeing
I,
that.
I've explained this a few times. Dave, the progressives have taken over. Nowadays, it's all about perceived melanin. You remember Katie Adams Anderton, the Utah County Democratic chair?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah. I was talking to her. Um, she's Jewish, and I was talking to her, and I was like, it's it's coming home to roost. All these progressive, the funnel of progressive confetti that they fed down the kids' heads is coming home to roost. It's on them now. You know, there's one group you're not hearing a peep out of, and that's the Southern Poverty Law Center. They run around the country making up racist, anti-Israeli, anti-Jewish things all the time. But in this one instance, they're keeping their mouth shut because it's about perceived melanin. Now, the Palestinians and your average Israeli are genetically cousins. Yes, there are some European Israelis, but they look the same. If you dressed them the same, they both walked up to you, it'd be a crapshoot to figure out which is which, right? But there's a perceived melanin level in one. So they're the downtrodden, the one that deserves all of our attention and our care and favor. And I'll be honest right now, I don't want to support either of them. I just want to stand back. You guys figured this out. I mean, when Israel has a $36 billion, defense loan from us and a $36 billion government surplus, I think we can stop.
Oh, is it a loan or is it a gift?
Probably a gift.
Yeah.
But I think we can stop. We can stop borrowing money from my great grandkids and giving it to someone else. We can stop. I think
No,
they
I
figured
totally
it
agree.
out.
So what you're saying is, if you were to make that decision, you would stop loaning them money.
Yeah. Yeah. I would. But I do also understand why on the global stage we keep sending US dollars everywhere, including to, enemy like Pakistan to do transgender studies in colleges. I understand why we do that. because we're trying to get dollars into other banks around the globe so that they don't stop using the dollar. It's going to be a lot harder for someone to say, let's say a smoker, right? Most smokers don't quit when they have a full pack of cigarettes in their breast pocket. They quit when they've burned up that pack. So right now, they've got a whole bunch of dollars in their banks. So that's leverage on them not to quit using the dollar. Because once the globe quits using the dollar, the party's over. They're turning out the lights. They're sweeping the beer cans into the garbages. So they keep pumping dollars everywhere. And I'm wondering where it ends. How far do we go with this?
Well, I'm sure they have a good equation. I mean, they've been able to milk every peasant for 30% without having a revolution. And they're looking for that line, I'm sure. We keep paying. We keep paying, and we keep going to work. And that's the big indicator. How's our employment? Are we paying loans? I hear people are starting to default on car loans, but I sometimes wonder if that's just clickbait on the internet. I see a lot of people going to work here in Jacksonville. I see a lot of people spending money left and right. So, I think we got a long ways to go before we're squeezed dry and intolerant of what it is the government's doing to us. And everybody has their own level. Everyone has their line in the sand. And I think you and me, we probably have lines in the sand a lot closer to where we are today than most people.
Yeah.
Just
I
just
mean,
because we're veterans and we had to experience a little bit of that tumultuous culture on the outside, maybe.
have you looked at the debtclock.org?
Yeah, it's a big number.
Well, it's not just that, but look at our debt to GDP. In the first bubble down on the bottom, in 2028, our debt to GDP will be 150.97% in 4 years.
So we're above 100% right now.
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah,
just crazy. We're at like, what, at 120 probably, 115?
that's a bad spot to be in.
Man.
Can you recover from that? I don't think
I
you
don't
can.
know. I don't know. That's the question. I don't know. The one question I have that I want to ask our representatives is, what's the end goal? Has anyone lined that out? Like they say now, we're not going to war again unless we have clear defined, what's the goal? What's the job? What are we going to do? What's our end goal with this?
Well, I thought we weren't supposed to go to war unless Congress votes that.
Well, I mean,
That,
but
but again,
what's
that's just the Constitution.
what's the end goal? You know what I mean, this is insane. It's just the numbers are crazy. Debt per citizen is 4,367. Okay, but then there's another one that says debt per taxpayer. Where's that at? I mean, it was some like 300,000. I don't know. I read through this. I haven't closed it since I opened it the other day.
I
And
think
it's
I
just,
think we're going off of a population of 340 million people, and if we divide the debt up amongst each citizen, but it's hard for kids and single moms and stuff to pay that back. So it's kind of, yeah, the burden's placed on the corporations and the wealthy, and then they're being told they're not paying their fair share. I don't know what a fair share looks like anymore after you're past the 100% to GDP. Is there any fairness at that point?
I don't know. I don't know. Fred says, I do not sympathize with Palestinians. All the progress they have ever made is the result of terrorism. Look, I don't sympathize with the Palestinians. They're in a hell of a pickle. Because it kicks off. The Gaza Strip is controlled by Egypt. The West Bank is controlled by Jordan. Jordan and Egypt start a war with Israel. Israel kicks their butt and takes those lands over. Then Israel tries to give it back. And Jordan and Egypt are like, no, they're yours now. And they're just like, nah, we don't want these people. Which I get it. I mean, the Palestinians, they killed, was it Jordan's prime minister? They did an attempt on the king. Egypt was looking at that going, we don't want to deal with that. They went to Kuwait and tried a coup in Kuwait. So the Palestinians have a notorious record of being hostile in the host nation. So, I mean, I get that. I honestly, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I'm almost a one-stater. Like, yeah. Israel needs to just pull them in and say, you're citizens now, and by hook or by crook, make them citizens.
I'll be honest. I mean, if I lived next door to some really hostile neighbors and I won the war, I wouldn't leave them alive to seek revenge later.
That's the call. I mean, Genghis Khan wouldn't have.
So in the way,
he might have left a few alive, but he killed enough to get his point across.
Well, these Palestinians, just that is their culture. Their kids are brought up on Sesame Street with bombs.
Yeah.
Big Bird's wearing a suicide
vest.
It's
Jihadi Street.
It's crazy. And how do you deal with that? You can't.
I don't know. And I mean, honestly, you got to try to pull them into your nation, I think. And I know everyone hates this, that the big talking point is two-state solution, but I don't think you'll ever be able to make a state next door to you that's going to like them like that. I don't know how they do it. Maybe they'll have a guy like Hyundai in South Korea, who's technically a North Korean that defected, started a car company, and then has like a Hyundai plant in North Korea and kind of builds a bridge that way. But that hasn't even worked. I don't know. And I think you just have to make one nation, just absorb them, Jared, make them citizens.
I'll tell you what, the people down here in the southern region, they're still pissed off at Sherman.
I mean, yes, they are.
That was years ago.
Yes, they are. And down there.
When you take everything from somebody and leave them alive, they get to tell the tales to their children, pass the blame, and it lasts forever.
And that's
what the Jews did.
They do a lot of, we was kings. And then those people look at it like, I would be totally successful as if it wasn't for your great grandfather.
And you know what? They probably would be.
Maybe.
The truth is, Sherman wiped everything out. They're right. But Sherman didn't kill them all. And that was not normal for that time period. When a general goes in and does such devastation, I can't think of any other point in history where he left them all alive.
Not during total war.
No.
Not during total war. Fred says, Tufsky, Shitsky.
That's Polish, right?
Yes, it is. Jeff Adamson says, the problem with the fair share spokespeople is they want to fund things the majority does not. Yeah. And they want to force you to adhere to their lifestyle, which, don't get me wrong, the conservatives, especially when they're in charge, whoever has the cathedral wants that as well. The conservatives, that pendulum's going to swing, and the conservatives are going to be in charge again, and they're going to want to force people to live by whatever values the conservatives hold at that time, which will probably be right now, today's values, and not the values that we're going to see in next year in 5 years, which is how it goes. The conservatives catch up, but when that pendulum swings, they're going to be arguing for the same thing.
Yeah, and you can see a little bit of that culture going on here in Florida. The state legislation has banned lab grown meat. I mean, that sounds pretty conservative, right?
Yeah.
Banning something, you know, just a lot of little crazy little conservative type enforcements like that.
And their
And
weird
you swung the
virtue.
pendulum. The word for, yeah, okay, virtue.
It's virtue. It's like,
Hmm.
look at how tough I am. I'm going to ban lab grown meat. Is it going to make a difference? Is there a fiscal or technical reason to ban it? I could see if they said, hey, if you've got lab grown meat, that's got to be announced on the package. I would prefer that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Conservative Party is really good at banning things.
Huh.
It doesn't make us a more free people. It doesn't make us a more responsible
No,
people. It makes us actually, I think, less capable of handling life when we just outlaw things.
it's just the different colored bumpers come up on the bowling lane.
Yeah. So, there it does take a little bit of both parties to, I think, somehow balance us out as a society. Or you can just, maybe, I hate to say it, but libertarian philosophy still has the best sounding ring to it, even though
Yeah.
they're as crazy as nut jobs too.
What do you think about the latest libertarian convention?
I think they shot themselves in the foot. I
I
really
think
do.
I think they shot Biden in the foot.
Biden's really blown it with any libertarian type personality when he vetoed a law to help promote cryptocurrency in the economy. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really shouldn't have done that.
Well, it's not just that, but let's go through who the libertarians elected.
Oh, did they finally decide somebody for president?
What's his name? Chase. They elected a Chase. Let's see if his name comes right up. Chase. No. I want to say Chase Bodine, but that's wrong. They elected a guy. Chase Oliver. They elected an openly gay man who's very intelligent. He's not awful on a lot of things, but he was okay with businesses. This is one of the things that kind of kills him, I think, with a lot of the regular people. He's okay with businesses putting a vax mandate on. And so he's from the left wing of libertarianism. And I think by electing him or nominating him, I think if he does peel any votes away, it'll be from the Democrats.
Is he really that left? I don't. When you say left wing of libertarianism, I still don't see how you can be left wing of free.
He's not from the Mises caucus, which would be considered right-wing libertarian.
Gotcha.
He's from I think the liberal caucus. I think. But yeah, Dave Smith, everyone was on board. And I think Dave Smith, had he stayed in and decided to run, I think the libertarians would have got a lot more action. But he drops out. They put, what the hell's his name? Well, anyways, they put him in right before he goes on to do his speech. he eats a CBD or a THC gummy and just, he goes up there, he's blown out of his mind. So his speech is just a high guy up there talking.
Have you ever watched somebody go into a gummy coma before?
I haven't.
It's pretty scary. I won't lie.
Really?
Yeah, it was probably one of the scariest moments I've ever seen.
I've
When
never had a gummy or any of that, so I don't know much about it. Um,
I actually watched somebody practically go into a just a paralyzed, comatose uh, position, and they couldn't really move. They couldn't really communicate. It was pretty scary. I'll never want to be
is,
around that stuff.
is there a chance to OD on THC?
I don't know about that. I mean, I think you could OD on anything. Too much of anything's bad, but I'm sure it's a lot safer
I'm
than say methamphetamine.
I'm sure there's ancillary effects like you could use it and then get into an accident or do something stupid and fall and hit your head. But I'm wondering if THC in and of itself could kill you.
I don't know. I'm sure it could if you did a pretty intense dose of it, but I think your average gummy consumption, you'd survive it. You might not want to,
I
but
heard those gummies are so strong that people just like take a little nibble, like you don't even want to eat a whole one.
yeah, I watched a lady eat a whole one once and just pretty much go comatose and couldn't move. It was it was an experience that I'll never forget.
Mm. I've got a question. So we have a big drug problem in the United States. Do you think if our economy straightens out that that'll kind of manage itself, or do you think the drug problem is something different? Do you think it's despair, or do you think it's situational?
When I was 18, all I wanted to do was make sure I could get alcohol because they told me I couldn't.
Hmm.
So I went out, going out to the bars, scratching my ID with colored pencils, and doing everything I can to pretend I'm 21. Then when you get to age 21, you're like, whatever. You start to mellow out about that sort of stuff because now it's accessible to you. I think when you tell people that they can't do something, there's a certain mechanism to the human psyche that is like very rebellious to authority. When someone tells you not to do something, you want to go do it more. And I think alcohol and drugs are one of those items that people use to defy authority, and also for traumatic events and stuff like that. Some people just they weren't hugged when they were a kid or something to that degree, and they're trying to compensate. But I think a lot of it has to do with authority. And
That gets them into it. But man, there's
what do you do with those people? That's my question.
I mean, there's so many like our coastal cities, LA and San Francisco and all that. Especially the West Coast, they're just full of druggies. I remember when I went up to Coos Bay, when you went into town, it was crazy. I mean, a town that's maybe twice the size of Tooele has 30 or 40 like whacked out junkies shadow boxing next to the road and everywhere. And I don't know how a town absorbs that. I mean, out here in Tooele, we have maybe a dozen total, and they're not whacked out. They're just, vagrants and homeless people. And I mean, that small number seems like it's kind of hard to deal with. I can't imagine 20 or 30 of them that are just blown out of their minds.
Well, here's the thing. If you want to do drugs and get high and get drunk, we have a rule for alcohol. You're not supposed to get intoxicated in public, right? That's you go to jail for that. But yet the druggies seem to get away with it. The police won't put them into the same position that they will someone walking down the street with a beer bottle.
I think that's because they're a permanent burden. Because once they get to that point, they're not producing anymore. They're just a burden on the taxpayer system.
Right, and that's what we have to change is people that are burdens on the taxpayer system aren't just a burden on the taxpayer system. It's a burden on you and me who have to
Yeah.
support this system. So I become a modern slave to their issues. The same with illegal immigration. They get caught, they have to be detained, they have to be vaccinated and medically cared for, and they get fluffy pillows and fresh linen, food, you name it. I mean, think of all the things that go into housing all those illegal immigrants they catch. And then I have to pay for that. And then their return ticket home. I mean, you're insulting me as a taxpayer by not forcing the illegal immigrant to work to repay me. And I feel the same way about druggies. If you want to do drugs in your own home and you're not abusing kids or something like that, go ahead, go for it. But the minute you step out into public and I have to clean up your poop or smell your pee on the sidewalk or watch you defecate inside of a flower pot, I think then you violated my liberty and you should be taken away to a labor camp.
I
Get
just wonder
sober.
how you would deal with that.
Well, maybe like the female illegal aliens in their labor camp could go take care of the overdoses that we put in the druggie labor camp and distribute labor properly and fairly.
You'd have the female druggies like licking their urine off the side of buildings to get that hit.
How long does
I
it take? How long does it take to recover from
I don't
drugs?
know. Here's my question though. I mean, like say you go to Portland or LA. What is there more of, crackheads or cops in prison beds?
Yeah, and
So
prison
that
beds
makes
cost money too.
an unequal equation. So if you set it up like if we was to set it up so that we're gonna arrest and house everyone, LA would overnight do a Texas thing and they'd start putting them on buses and driving them around the country just like Salt Lake did when the Olympics came.
Hmm. Well, I know Alaska has a low population.
Yeah,
And it's cold. You sober up really quick in Alaska, I heard.
well, you just need one winter and you may not sober up really quick. You might just freeze to death.
One or the other. Either
Yeah.
way, as long as you're not a
LA
burden.
doesn't have that. You know,
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know.
I would like to know how long it would take for a forced recovery for fentanyl. That would be an interesting question because that's the big problem with today's society is fentanyl. And once you get hooked on that, I think it really screws you up pretty hard. It doesn't seem like people have the capacity to recover from that.
No.
So really, only being detention is the only way to recover for some of those people. And then
Yeah, I don't know.
that costs me money. So you have to give them something to do to create resources to pay for that. Because asking you and me to pay for their detention so they stay off fentanyl is more inhuman than letting them freeze to death in Alaska.
I agree. I agree completely. I don't know. Man, it's just a tough one. I just wonder what I'm hoping is that if we were able to get our economy on an even kill, um, figure out how to get some honest national pride. I don't want national pride where we have to be attacked every 10 years to just keep it hyped up. But to get some maybe state pride is a better way to look at it instead of national. But then you've got to have leaders that you can be proud of, that you can be happy about. But
You know,
I
I
don't know,
think
it just
it
feels like
starts it starts with the self. If you don't have self pride, I don't see how you can have pride in something else.
You're 100% right, but it feels like we've been on a slow dredge into despair, like as a whole nation.
Or maybe just that's the road they're leading people down. They don't want them to be
Oh, call them A, call them
happy
B.
all the time. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know, Jared. There's definitely something amiss. There's some social engineering going on with a scheme and a plan and an end game.
I
I
honestly
don't have
think.
it figured out yet, but
Well,
it's happening.
I think you're 100% right. I think we need to. Everyone as a culture needs to focus on culture, focus on family, raising your kids right, being showing intent when you decide to get married and reproduce, and being a part of your community and a valuable part. I think we definitely need to start focusing on that. But we've all moved into Facebook. I don't know. I don't know how this works. Got a couple more comments here. Where was we at? Jeff says Palestinian elected Hamas, knowing who they were, and indoctrinate children to hate, kill, not just Israeli, but Americans. That's 100%, and I, man, I don't want to get drug into that quagmire. I don't want to get drug into that mess. I just had the debt clock up. It's heavy and it gets bigger when we're in war. I don't
Will
want
it
to
fit
go
on the
back.
screen? Would it fit on the screen, Jared?
The debt clock?
Yeah.
Here, I'll pull it up again real quick.
Just let that scroll right across the screen.
Well, it doesn't scroll across. The debt clock shows like all of our little debts, all of our little where everything is. Can you see it, Dave?
I'm looking at our Facebook feed right now.
Okay. I mean, 47, and there's a comma, and there's a comma, and there's a comma, and there's a comma.
I don't see it, so I'm okay.
Debt per citizen. This is debt per citizen.
What is it?
Sorry,
What
the
is
one
it?
I read
Pull it
earlier
up.
was.
See if you can pull it up on the screen.
It's sharing on screen, isn't it?
No, unfortunately.
It says it's
Push the
sharing.
wrong button.
Did I? Oh, I've got to turn it on. There we go. All right. So we'll go back to it.
Oh,
Debt
wow.
per citizen, 47 trillion, and and you can't even count along with the last three. Debt per citizen is 134,265.
Oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
Debt per taxpayer is 334,699.
So what you're
Now,
saying
everyone,
is it's the price of our houses. So if we give our houses up to the government when everyone dies, then they might be able to pay it off.
yeah. But here's the bad news. We aren't replacing ourselves. So that number's going to go up at every cycle of people dying.
Well, we can always let the immigrants in legally and replace us.
Do you think that's part of their plan they've been running with?
I'm sure it's got an equation variable somewhere in it. Yes. Because you got to keep the population growing somehow. Yeah, or I mean, you wouldn't have a farm and let all your cows just go extinct. Maybe introduce some new cattle into the herd and
What if they look at it as they have a farm, they're not letting their cows go extinct. They're just banking on artificial intelligence cows coming along in the near future.
yeah, that could be. You've watched the Ecto Lab video where they're growing the babies inside of the artificial wombs.
Was that real? I heard that was fake.
That was fake. That had
Okay.
yes.
But why would they even need to make people? I mean, let's think of it. What jobs out there could be replaced by AI today as it stands?
I don't know. I still don't have much confidence in AI. I can't even get Alexa to change time zones to
People are
Florida
going to be
from
pissed when
Utah.
I say this. Teachers. AI could replace your teachers today.
Oh, I think YouTube could replace our teachers.
That'd be replacing our professors. Um, AI could probably replace most of your legal assets today.
What do you mean by legal assets?
Your lawyers, your paralegals, dominance of judges. AI could probably perform jury to a more satisfactory standard.
That is a scary thought.
You know what I'm saying?
But how
So
how do you memorize all that law? How do you balance all that law? Uh,
I'll tell you
Maybe
what. Chat GPT has a better chance of knowing all of the US and Utah and Florida state codes than any 10 people alive.
hmm, I'm gonna now you got me curious. I'm gonna try Chat GTP with my safety regulations and see if it can
Dude,
actually cough them up faster than me.
the only thing AI can't beat is your eyeballs that I know of. It might be able to. I don't know. A couple more comments on here. Jeff says they had to. Biden couldn't hit his own foot. Talking about talking about the libertarians shooting Biden in the foot. Here's the libertarians. This is my psychological read on them. Libertarians are outsiders by choice. You know, during Vietnam, the Libertarian Party was sidling up with the Communist Party of the United States because they were outsiders. The Libertarians always have to be the outsider. When the Republicans are in charge, watch, the Libertarians will be getting buddy buddy with the Democrats. And when the Democrats are in charge, they'll get buddy buddy with the Republicans. But within the Libertarian Party, so at the last Libertarian National Convention, the one last year, the Libertarians had a clean sweep. Everyone got swept out, and the Mises Caucus took over. The Mises Caucus, named after Ludwig von Mises, is a conservative or paleo-conservative branch of the Libertarian Party. So they're old school conservative. Think like Calvin Coolidge type conservatives. They want small, limited government that doesn't get involved in your daily life and doesn't get into wars. So that's their party. That's their whole platform. And sure enough, the Libertarian Convention rolls around this year, and the Libertarians slide exactly over to the exact opposite side. They're just the consummate outsiders.
They definitely have some social issues amongst
What?
themselves.
Are you saying that they're autistic?
That's one way to put it.
They definitely are. Okay. Fred says people don't just quit drugs. And I agree with that. Quitting drugs is a process. And very few are like 1 in 1,000 are successful on their first try. And, it takes so many tries. Jeff says, why do you think certain areas have more per capita drug use? And that is a good question. Do you think it's the drug users go to that area, or do you think that area is in more despair? And I would argue Coos Bay, I'll bet their drug users, a dominance of them, aren't from there. Same with LA and San Francisco. They go where it's
Where the
more
weather's
comfortable.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you blame them? I can't. I totally get
Oh
it.
no, if I was going to be a crackhead, I would do it in Coos Bay.
I'd go to Florida.
Florida might be a little too hot for me.
I'll
Coos
tell you what.
Bay, Coos Bay, you never run a heater and you never run an AC. I mean, the weather there is perfect. I mean,
Sounds like
we're
it's an
talking.
expensive real estate
I don't know if it's expensive or not. It was quite beautiful up there. Fred says you need to go to Empire, the city on the west side of Coos Bay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I hope I get back up there soon. Jeff says, how about old school incarceration? Road work crews making tiny rocks out of big rocks. And that is one answer.
then. You definitely have to find something productive for these people to do that provides value.
But
Back to
that's
me.
still, yeah. I mean, we
Otherwise,
know,
you're punishing your citizens.
yeah. And what do you do with the people who built a business doing those things?
One thing that you could do, I think, would be very beneficial is put them on the recycling line where they sort plastic or remove plastic from the environment. Clean up crews for oil spills and environmental issues.
But then again, what do you do with guys who did the honest capitalist thing and started a business doing that? Do you then compete with an honest capitalist?
I don't think there's any money in cleaning up the environment.
I don't know. But, what do you do? Let's say some guy invents a means so that there is money in it. And then all of a sudden the state says, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to have guys in orange jumpsuit do it. And then a guy with an invention is out. And
Well,
the last thing I want is the government to compete with capitalists.
then maybe you could have them build houses for disadvantaged people because the government's so involved with the housing market that it's already government anyway.
I'm going to give a hot take. I think we go back to the way it was prior to 1980 and we open up the asylums again. Because if I'm going to put my taxpayer money into something, I'd rather put it into something like that, where they're not competing with the private market and we're still taking care of an issue. And then addicts, they go to an asylum. They get help in an asylum. People with mental problems, they go to an asylum.
They still have to pay for their room, their board, their everything.
I don't even know if I'd make them pay for their room and their board. I would totally make that a cost, just like our prisons are. Except it would be focused.
You know how I feel about prisons, though. I mean,
Yeah, I mean prisons stink too, but I think we need to go back to that.
and you got to think though, Jared. A lot of these people might not have skills, so if you have them labor away at some special item like housing or recycling or something like that, not only are you not taking my money to provide for their well-being as a taxpayer, but you're providing them a way out when they do recover.
I would never have state mandated labor crews that compete with the free market. That'd be my line. So if you find a job where they can do something where they're in a non-competitive market, I'm great with it. I just don't want to see anybody who's an honest functioner in our economy where they get punished because our state has the monopoly to do it cheaper, better, easier, or with guns.
It's still a no-win situation because if
It is.
you got to pay for the prison,
It is. There's no win, but I mean, right now you pay a premium to live in a neighborhood where crackheads don't live. The cheapest markets in any city are the ones that, are right next to the crackhead shelters.
Yeah.
All right. So, Fred says Fred lived up in Coos Bay for a while. But would they pay it off? I think he's talking about their stay in the mental institution. And I don't know. And it would probably just be lost money. I mean, it would honestly be toilet money. There is another option, but we can't talk about that here. The last person who tried that, no one likes him at all. I can't imagine what level of customer service would be from AI. Ooh. Fred, call your bank today and you're going to talk to AI first.
Have you ever had those chat bots in your websites that you go to for
Yes.
help?
Yes. What is it? Microsoft website is lousy with it. Awful. If you go, as a matter of fact, if you're a customer of Comcast, the first thing you talk to is an AI. And I used to be a Comcast customer, and it's all I ever talked to was AI.
So who do you use now?
Now I've got All West. It's a broadband. It's so much faster. Dave, the internet right now is zooming fast. It's ridiculous. Like my upload speeds, I upload a 4-hour video in about 8 minutes, where it used to take an hour and a half. Okay. Where was that? Fred says Coos Bay is generational drug use. Coos Bay lost a generation to meth. The teenage homelessness was sad. I lived there for 2.5 years. Yeah. Yeah, Coos Bay is rough and generational. So that's another big question. When there's children that pick up the drug use from parents or aunts, uncles, relatives. Yeah, that is very true. Oh. And then he also says, calling my bank is why I have anger management issues.
Yeah, banks give me a little bit of heartburn too. I won't lie.
Yeah. All right. So I wanted to look at this. I've only heard about it. So the claim is Germany's parliament voted to decriminalize the possession, acquisition, and distribution of child pornography. A viral claim circulating on social media in May 2024 stated that Germany had decriminalized possession of child pornography videos and posts on TikTok, X, and Instagram. That's where the posts were saying it did that. It says it's mostly false. Okay, in reality, Germany did not decriminalize child pornography, but instead voted to reduce the criminal penalty for the possession of it. We therefore have rated this claim as mostly false. I'm reading off of Snopes, everyone. The Bundestag passed a draft law that adjusted minimum sentences for possession, acquisition, and distribution. Previously, possession was punished by a minimum of 1 year in prison. The new legislation reclassified possession, acquisition, and distribution as misdemeanors, reducing the minimum sentence between 3 and 6 months. They did not decriminalize it, but that's awful close. 3 to 6 months. That is not a lot of time for having that stuff.
What percentage of their prison population is for that crime? I wonder. You know?
or what percentage of their parliament.
I wonder if the parliaments are even German anymore. Would they be more Arabic or? Because
That's a good question.
the majority of their population now is Turkish, I think.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I mean, look at London. I mean, London it should just be Pakistan. That's a good question. 6 months on a misdemeanor. So in the US, that means that that individual would still be able to Fred, write in. What's the let's say you get the top misdemeanor. What's the maximum punishment that the courts can give out on a top misdemeanor?
Well, you still get to vote. You still get to have a gun.
Yeah,
think,
vote, have a gun,
be a
but
felon.
like, is a misdemeanor a year in jail? What is it? What's the maximum penalty for a class A misdemeanor or whatever they call it? I don't know. That's crazy.
And again, those kind of people should go to labor camps, not prisons.
You know,
But then I guess we have to look for a proper profession for them that won't interfere with the free market. I'm still thinking sorting plastics or removing it from the ocean. I don't
well,
think there's
I
a
don't,
capitalist venture that does
I
that.
don't,
Money.
the hard part with that is because I think there is some capitalist ventures that are doing that. And there's some startups that are working on that. So I wouldn't want to restrict new inventions by having it forced labor. I think it has to be something that is already done that, here's one way to deal with it. What if you had rental crews, you know, like say your septic tank overfloweth and you can rent a crew of guys that come out. They have a guard with a shotgun and 3 guys with shovels. And where right now you pay about $5 or $6 grand to have a septic company come and dig up your manhole, open the lid up and pump it out. You could pay a premium. So it's not a competition. So they charge 8% more than the going rate for any job. And that way it's a voluntary action that you know you're doing for the greater good. And they dig up your septic tank with just shovels, no heavy equipment, just shovels, you know. And so they anti-compete with private industry, but it's known like you call it a for good,
Like a nonprofit substance.
kind of like a donation type situation. But how do you do that with if someone's, in a mental institution for drugs and alcohol, they're nonviolent. How do you rent them out? I don't know. It's big questions. I don't want to see the government compete with private industry. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, and that's your choice. However, I don't want to see the government using my money to fix other people that put themselves in those situations. So I mean, you're either way, you're kind of violating the non-aggression principle either way.
Yes, but are you fixing those people? Are those people being fixed for yourself, or are those for themselves, or are the people being fixed for the good of the community?
Well, I think it works both ways. They need fixing. So,
Yeah.
hey,
I mean, it's a tough call. It's a fine line. That's why I'll never run for politics. So the Hatch Act has been lowered a little bit. So what you gonna do? Gonna start out, do some city politics? What?
No, no, I don't know. I don't even know if I would ever. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat that you are. I like to throw ideas out there and tease people, but I mean, really, what's the point of trying to put forth honest, fix some ideas because society ain't ready to mentally handle that kind of stuff. It's just not. It's a losing platform to be, frankly
I
honest.
think you're right. What happens when AI becomes our politicians? What do we do when AI demands a voice in the Congress and the Senate?
I would feel more comfortable with AI being our Congress and Senate than the people that are currently there. Isn't
Uh,
that scary?
I mean, I would, I guess, until
If
like
if I was the one designing the AI,
when until I remember the Terminator. We need to have that guy's rules for robots. The Prime Directive, I think it's called, or whatever. No, that's Star Trek. What the heck is that called?
yeah, I think people are just giving a lot of clout to AI. I don't know if it's that well deserved.
I don't know. Have you played with it yet?
No, I have Alexa, and I'm completely disappointed.
Alexa is not AI.
It's close enough.
No, play with Chat GPT a little bit. I mean, it's very formulated. All it does is search the internet and compile stuff.
Hmm.
But isn't that kind of what lawyers do? And don't teachers just kind of teach a process and a program?
Yes, and they also insert their kind of little bit of agenda or drama. I mean, let's face it, some lawyers are just able to provide a story or emphasize an activity that a client performed. They're
We don't
able
need to
to
talk about Crump
insert charisma.
tonight. What about
Eh,
that Benjamin Crump comes parachuting in every time there's an incident?
Somebody's got to.
Oh, yeah. Though
Somebody's
he's
paid
shown
them.
up a couple times when I agree with him, but man,
How much money you think he makes? What's he cost per hour? What do you think? That's a big one.
race hustling's a paying game, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Ooh, that could get expensive quick. And all his money, he's like an ambulance chaser with it. I don't know.
Well, I think we live in a litigious society. I think
We do.
that's a very well protected field. You have to get certified and you got to go through the bar. And you kind of need a little bit of a blessing. I think if you just relaxed on those kind of criteria, that more people in India would become lawyers for us and reduce the cost. I really think that is the way of the future for law, and I wouldn't be upset if that's the way it went. It went that way for my profession. I used to do programming,
Mm-hmm.
and just so you know, I did open up a development company here. I now
I saw that. Yeah.
yeah
Plug it.
yeah. So you better call Dave.lol if you want a website. If you're watching the show, some people will charge you 100, $200. I'm in a range of like $50 to $60 for a full blown website. If you want to
Mm-hmm.
make a Facebook clone, or if you want to do a
What's a
cryptocurrency,
what's a
that
Facebook clone?
let's say you wanted to make Jared book, right? So basically, I would take the same kind of code for Facebook, usually like some sort of a PHP or something like that, server side code, and I just rearrange the graphics and manipulate the code a little bit to help you customize a social media platform that does the same thing as Facebook, and then you publish it, and then you control the admin panel once I hand over the keys. And it's not as complicated as some people think. What's really complicated about those kind of platforms is maintaining the legalities of them, maintaining the updates, and if somebody posts something that's inappropriate, you got to hire someone to take that down. That's where the cost comes in. But the actual
Really?
build of a Facebook type platform, it's, not really that bad. It's affordable. Same things with like an Angie's List or
Really?
a
So
Groupon page. You can start your own businesses just like that. You just gotta have a very similar architecture of code and then get the keys to the admin panel. And that's what I do. I provide people the code, I provide people the customization, and then we'll hand you
I
over the keys.
let me ask you this. Like say you make a I don't know, like a Craigslist, right? Um, there's some open areas for that uh, where things aren't allowed on YouTube, like selling guns, or on Facebook. You're not allowed to sell guns on Facebook. Um,
I'm not allowed to post my ads to create cryptocurrencies for people on Facebook. I
really?
had a special going on the other day for 3,500 bucks. I was willing to create someone a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Dogecoin, make it your own custom coin. Facebook took it down. They're not allowing it.
Fedbook took it down. Uh, Travis on YouTube says, "Look at the new world warfare. AI will soon take over the fighting on the world other than troops on the ground. This will create nuclear warfare as AI will protect its interests, aka country at all costs." It's true. I think it won't be long until we have drone on drone warfare. I think we're going to see that within the next couple of years.
Well, I think
And
we already do in Ukraine, don't we? I mean, they got drones.
do they
Russia's
have
got
drones that
drones.
hunt drones?
I would imagine so.
I think that's the next thing, like fighter drones. That's we're looking at a wild new world, and eventually, I mean, you'll when you have drones that go into dogfights against drones, human reaction won't be fast enough to compete with computer reaction. And the first one that outfits a drone with the computer reaction will win, and then all others will follow.
Well,
Travis says,
when you say dogfights with drones, all I can think about is that dog robot with a flamethrower.
dude, that thing's awesome, right? When
The
I
best,
saw that, the first thing I thought of was like, Dave wants one.
the best ten
First
thousand
thing,
bucks ever.
Dave would have like three of them patrolling the yard at all times. He painted them safety yellow, but there's three of them. Travis says no, they don't have drone on drone warfare yet. No, they're using those $1,000, $2,000 drones and dropping hand grenades off of them and stuff. Travis says this was the main purpose of Space Force. Yeah,
To defeat drones.
drones, satellite protection.
I think I don't want to give away any of my sources, but I really think one of the desired gems of the military is a moon base for military purposes. Yeah.
We got to kick the Martians off it first. There's a reason we don't go back. That's because the Martians live in there. It's hollow, it's made of cheese, and that's where the Martians are.
Hey, look, if you've seen that video from Las Vegas get interpreted lately, have you seen it?
Getting what?
So the video from Las Vegas when the aliens landed in those Mexicans' backyard.
Oh yeah, I did see that. That was back in gosh, that was like December or January. That was wasn't it?
Well, recently someone threw that through a professional video interpretation algorithm, someone who works court cases using this kind of video deciphering technology. And
Uh-huh.
people go to prison for life after this guy presents a case using video AI technology if they're found guilty. Well, this guy has been running the gambit with that video and trying to debunk it. And he's finding things in the background, such as these aliens were using a warp distortion or cloaking system to make them black blotches in the background of this person's
What?
video. So the people were seeing these aliens out there, but when they're videotaping them, they look like black shadows or something like that. And they're having to throw it through the AI technology to enhance the features a little bit beyond what normal Photoshop filters can do. And what they're
What?
finding, yeah, they're
So
finding some pretty
that
crazy
might be
stuff.
real.
I, it wouldn't
As
surprise
far
me.
as he can figure out.
Yes,
Ooh.
and his animations are pretty interesting. How he can show the depictions of where these black spots were and using AI to outline what they might have looked like a little bit. It's not a lot of detail, but it's enough to really get kind of hair raising, freaky chills in the back of your spine. So it's maybe that is why we're not going back to the moon. You might be
Ah,
spot
have
on.
have you ever heard of Project Bluebeam?
No, just Project Blue Book, but not Blue Beam.
Bluebeam there was a Canadian reporter who come up with this. He was kind of a crazy Christian nationalist reporter out of Canada. And he wrote this kind of this is what they're planning to do thing, like Alex Jones type stuff. And he wrote that they're going to have a fake alien landing or a fake alien visitation. They're going to do it, he said, with lasers, which is where blue beam comes from, that they're going to project UFOs in the skies with lasers. They're going to use a fake alien landing to rein in the New World Order because they'll give us an extraterrestrial to go after. And he wrote it forever, and anyways, the government of Canada ended up taking his kids away from him, and then either they killed him or he died from stress, which is why everyone really caught on to it. Had they left him alone, no one would have paid attention. But the government of Canada went at him hard. And maybe this is the kickoff of Bluebeam.
Well, the government of Canada it's pretty totalitarian as it is. So.
But it wasn't 25 years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's when this happened. This was in the 80s.
Wasn't Fidel Castro's father in charge back then?
No, it was Fidel Castro's baby mama's husband was in charge back then.
Maybe it was as totalitarian. We just didn't know it because we didn't have Facebook and we didn't have social media back then.
Okay. Pierre was a socialist, but he wasn't totalitarian. He did a lot of stuff like strengthening Quebec and marching in some government controls, but they were looked at positively back then because Canada wasn't a drowning hot mess, and it didn't have a country to the south of it that was a drowning hot mess.
Well, at least everybody's a drowning hot mess today, so we're keeping up with the Joneses.
Well, who's not? That's the question. Like, how is Russia doing?
Who knows? I mean, really, who knows? I know that people that I talk to in Russia over WhatsApp or whatnot, they're very hesitant. They're like, look, we have to be careful what we say because they're watching.
I'm sure.
So it's like, the information that comes out of Russia, I take it with a grain of salt. I really don't know how they're doing.
And that's the question, because you get both sides. I mean, does Putin have all the support that's always claimed? Because, I mean, Putin's a strong man. And look, everyone's like, well, he just put oligarchs in trouble. No, he put fellow KGB agents in charge. All his oligarchs, the people who come out of that were fellow KGB and military officers. That's who got rich in Russia. They didn't earn it. It's a mafia state. It's an oligarchy. It's all those things, but it was centered around one group that could survive because some little known guy in the Berlin station, they thought they could trust him.
Well, in America, here in the United States, we don't have strong men making the big bucks. We have lawyers. So our lawyer class is the one making the big benefit, while in Russia, the warrior class does. And truthfully, I don't know if either class has the moral right to claim the source of the trough. So
That's a very good point. And China is party affiliated. You get to make big bucks. If you're party affiliated, you get to start a business. You get to start a venture. And all you have to do is make sure that the party has a person on your board.
sounds like a good deal.
Sounds like a good deal.
I mean, if
Travis,
you're making money, I guess. Would you rather be a rich person in a country like China or North Korea, or just be a poor person in the United States?
ooh, depends on how you got rich. I mean, China's disappears rich people all the time.
All you got to do is just say one thing once. That's not
Yeah.
party affiliated.
Boy, Xi Jinping's shoes didn't match his belt tonight. And bam, you're gone. They're harvesting your organs and, using the rest of you to build an island out in the China Sea. Travis says China landed on the dark side of the moon and is ganging up with the Transformers.
Yeah.
I
The
saw that
Autobots are the
movie.
Decepticons.
The Decepticons. Gosh, it's crazy. It does make you wonder where we're at. Because it does. It feels like there is something boiling just under the surface everywhere. Right? It feels, I think there's globally, there's like a big change coming. Travis said, I'm on Russia intel. They've lost 350,000 troops fighting Ukraine. Putin is very close to finishing by causing damage to Ukraine's infrastructure. That's heavy. And Ukraine has a generation lost. A generation.
By the way,
imagine looking at your country and you've got 40-year-olds and young teenagers, and everything in between that is gone. Just imagine looking at that.
So Ukraine has an interesting law these days that they recently passed. Okay, so if you're a Ukrainian outside of Ukraine, you can't get your visas renewed. So you have to go back to Ukraine and register with the government to make sure you shouldn't be out on the front lines. Which sounds really horrible. I mean, what a nasty policy that is.
It's kind of draconian.
Fighting Russians, yeah. However, I just want to make a plug for a website someone's website that I'm designing. You had him on the show. You remember Joey?
Mm-hmm.
Joey from limitlessmigration.com.
I do.
If you are a Ukrainian out there who's looking for a second citizenship without having to go back to the Ukrainian embassy, highly recommend you look him up.
What is Joey doing to hook that up? Because now obviously, if you're Jewish, you're in a good position because Israel will give a Jewish person citizenship, and that gives you a place to parachute into. Ireland, I've heard that if you have a grandparent that was born in Ireland, am I correct on that? That you can get Irish citizenship. But what other countries I would like to talk to Joey again and ask him what countries are give out citizen. Now, obviously, none of that applies to me, though my grandpa was born in Canada. But is there countries that give out easy citizenship?
All I can say is Joey has his way of doing what he does.
Joey does what he does.
So if you're Ukrainian and you don't want to join the cause, and I gotta say, I mean, if I was Ukrainian, I don't know if I'd want to do that. I don't even know what are they even fighting for. Do they have lower tax rates than what they would if they were Russian? I mean,
Look, I don't blame the
I don't know.
Ukrainians. If someone invaded my land, I would fight too. But
What if they promised you lower tax rates though?
I'd fight now. Who do I got to fight?
So you'd fight to
Well,
have
how
higher
much
tax
lower?
rates?
How much
Yeah,
lower?
exactly.
I mean, if
And
we're going Democrat Republican change, 37 to 36%.
let's
I
say
don't care.
Canada says, look, if you surrender to us, you get 50% less taxes for the rest of your life.
Hold
And
on,
you get to
but
keep the same way of life that you have.
what about the Bill of Rights? Do I get to keep that?
It's very similar in Canada.
It's not very similar in Canada.
How so?
There's no
But
First Amendment. None.
right.
You
And
go to
there's one here.
jail. Huh?
There, okay, maybe we have this thing called the Constitution, but it's not real. Come on.
But I don't know of anyone going to jail in the U.S. for making a crude joke on Facebook.
Are you sure?
I said I don't know of anyone.
There was a guy who did some sort of a joke on Hillary Clinton during the election. And I guess
What did they
people-
get him on? What did they get him on? Yes, it's trumped up, but they
Whatever they
got him
want.
on election fraud.
Anyway, like I said, you get 50% less taxes. Same way of life.
Travis says America gives free citizenship to illegals. They gave them IDs to vote this November, but it'll bake fire, being we can't keep up with their costs they expect for free. The New York illegals are protesting for Biden not giving them life for free. Yeah, there's the place where you can go to where we already are. But no, Canada is lousy with its First Amendment. They're shutting down all sorts of stuff. Granted, here our First Amendment does get put on trial all the time. And there is no Second Amendment up in Canada.
No.
Not one. No
So
fourth.
Second Amendment, I could see how that's worth fighting for, but the Ukrainians didn't have a Second Amendment until they
No,
were-
they didn't.
And the same with the Jews.
Here's a note to Ukraine. Here's a note to the world. Had Ukraine and Israel had a Second Amendment, things might be quite a bit different. I imagine had Ukraine had a Second Amendment, things would have been different in 2014. Could have been different in 2014 when Russia took Crimea.
Well, I don't see many Crimeans complaining about their Russian occupiers. though.
No, I think Crimea was happy to go with Russia. But you got to look at it from their point of view. Russia has a great big naval base there. How much of their economy, just there in Crimea, in the peninsula, was built off of servicing the Russian naval base?
I've never been there.
I'm sure the Crimean, because that's Russia's biggest naval base. I'm sure the Crimean economy is built around servicing that. Just like when Tooele Army Depot did that big closure in the early 90s, it wrecked Tooele, wrecked it, tore it apart. I'm sure the Crimeans were like, wait, what? You're going to take away that? You know, the guy that runs the coffee shop and the baker and the diner, how much do they lose? The guy who the guy who sews patches on commie uniforms, how much is he going to lose? You know, there was no one in place to take that up. It's not like Ukraine was packing a navy around.
Yeah, and again, it seems like the population just took it with a grain of salt and just went with it and did
I'll
fine.
bet I'll bet most of the population wanted it.
I don't know about that. I mean, most of those people probably don't even give a crap who they're paying taxes to, as long as they don't go up.
No, it's not about who you pay taxes to. It's about where your income comes from.
Well, that too, yes, yes.
That's the big thing. When Tooele Army Depot shut down the first time, it sent Tooele into a financial, tailspin. It tore the economy apart out here for years. And I'm sure the Crimeans were looking at that like, how am I going to make my money? There was nothing to replace an economy that was built. So I'm sure the Crimeans were all about it.
Yeah, and I genuinely am interested in what what does Russian citizenship look like versus Ukrainian. I don't think Ukrainians were very free. I think their government institutions were probably just as lousy as Russian ones. So if I were a Ukrainian, I don't know if I'd want to fight for that. I mean, it's not like they had anything going on like the Constitution or anything. They didn't have Second Amendment rights, and uh, if I'm going to fight for a country, it's got to represent me having freedom. And unfortunately, I see America losing that, and that's going to really demoralize the population to want to fight to the death to
Mm.
keep us as a nation as we become more and more diversified or absorbing other cultures that might actually absorb us in the process. And so I genuinely am actually interested to see the perspective of what would be the difference of being Ukrainian and Russian. I mean, I don't think they have political freedom over in Ukraine. Don't they get locked up if they disagree with the president?
Right now they do, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Or
if you
or they just get pushed further to the front line.
if you don't want to go back to Ukraine and you're out of Ukraine now, you're in a safe spot, but you're going to lose your visa. Again, contact limitlessmigration.com. Get yourself situated,
So
and,
it's no
and
longer Joey International. It's now Limitless Migration.
yeah, that is the website to contact them.
Okay.
Tell them Dave
All
sent
right.
you.
Is he going to put a hot link on his old website to the new one?
I They'll probably just absorb. I don't know.
Okay, good. Good, good. Travis says Ukraine was fooled on all of their weapon building, nuclear building in 2014 as the CIA installed a queer as their president that will follow corrupt U.S. policy that wasn't supposed to be exposed. Russia exposed all the illegal labs and money laundering that was happening.
Yeah, you never
Yeah,
hear about the illegal labs anymore. I'm kind of curious to know where that went as a story.
I don't know. I know Fauci's in hearings right now, and they're gonna go exactly nowhere. That's crazy. It's crazy what they did during COVID. And you can't get honest conversation out of it, like when they talk about vaccine injury, I haven't been able to find a place that I can really look that up. Is it true? I mean, I know you got it. Are you having heart palpitations or whatever?
The only medical symptom that I think I'm experiencing more so is maybe this is just because I'm getting older, but definitely feeling more lethargic over the years. I definitely have a harder time breathing, but that's probably because of the burn pit fever crap that you get when you get deployed.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I don't usually have side effects from anthrax vaccines or anything like that. I
Well,
absorb it pretty well.
did you start having the harder time breathing and all that while you were still here in Utah, or did that kick off when you went to Florida?
I've had I got my first official inhaler like around 2012, 2014. Otherwise, I was just using other people's inhalers. So I mean, I've always
So
pretty
yeah,
much
that
after.
you can't chalk that up to the vax if it started before it.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the people that live next to those burn pits, your lungs suffered. So
You're breathing in open flame diesel and poo.
and towards the end of my military career in 2017 during the PT test, I mean, even the fat bodies were passing during the run, which I used to be an avid runner. I'm in pretty good shape, but once your lungs get damaged from that kind of crap, there's repercussions for the way you lived your life. We'll put it
Mm.
that way. I'm just glad I never was a smoker or did pot and all that other crap, so I don't have to compound that on top of my wonderful service to the republic. But yeah, as far as the vaccine, I haven't had any bad side effects yet.
See, that's the hard part is I'm not seeing a place that it's like everywhere that should be looking into it is afraid to look into it for a very for numerous reasons, I'm sure. They don't want to look into it because one, they participated and they acted a fool, or they don't want to look into it because funding might dry up down the road, or they don't want to look into it because something else is tied in with Pfizer or you name it. And so no one wants to look into it. No one wants to take an accounting. No college where you used to get these best I don't know what you'd call them, the best kind of studies on this. They don't want to look into it because the colleges all went kooky and made everyone do it. And what if the college, like let's say Columbia says, all right, we're going to look into it. Columbia forced their students to get the vaccine if they wanted to stay a student. Columbia looks into it and finds out that the vaccine causes problems. Then Columbia has to sweep that under the rug like yesterday, or they stand liable for forcing their students to get it, right? So I get why no one wants to look into it. It's just, it's going to leave a great big old black hole. It's going to be right up there with, JFK and 9/11 and, you know, what flavor a cigar Bill used. It's going to be all of that.
Yeah, and to answer the question in the chat room, how many boosters? They only made us get the two vaccines, the first and the second one, and after that, they tried to get you to go take the booster, but nobody was having it where I was. I didn't touch any other booster after the ones that were mandatory,
Well,
and then
that was also after Moderna's shot got shut down because it was having direct problems, like direct impact then. So everyone was backing away, which is probably why they didn't make you do it.
I don't know. All I know is I wish I held out and didn't take it because I mean look at COVID now. It's very mild. People aren't really suffering the way they used to, and a lot of biological weapons that are released into the environment will bring themselves into a more mild condition
They're
as they
designed
yeah.
they're designed to go away because you don't want a permanent problem where you want to conquer.
Well, the biological weapons that kill their hosts continuously, they can't really evolve the same way that if you can allow your hosts to continue to live, you can keep feeding off.
Here's
So
the question. So you're saying it was a bioweapon. Whose weapon was it?
wasn't mine. I did not do that.
I'm talking between us or China.
Oh gosh, maybe it was a combination. I I don't know. I mean, Fauci will never own up to it, right? So if you want my conspiracy theory, I think we funded it. I definitely think we funded it.
Do you think we laid out the parameters we wanted them to do?
That I hope not. And I'm trying to see where the benefit of that would have been for our oligarchs. I can kind of see where China would go with it, saying, here's the blast across the nose, and it's a warning shot from China.
And it destroys your economy, gives us a chance to grow into that void. Here's where you've got to ask, who's our oligarchs? Because if you're talking about, say, the board of Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, they're the ones who won. Pfizer won the COVID. Hands down, Pfizer made more money than it would have made in 10 years on regular situations. That's who won COVID. Could it have been them? Was maybe Fauci on their payroll?
Yeah, these are probably questions we'll never find out in our lifetime. But I'm sure there's something else coming down the pipeline. As the economy gets a little crazier and crazier, I think they have to keep throwing these kind of things at us as a society to keep.
You want my conspiracy mind on it?
Go for it.
America en masse isn't going to fall for that again. Not for 3 or 4 generations. So the next thing down the pipeline would probably be real.
You mean a real powerful biological weapon?
Like a killer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
And then like the vaccine would also be real. And the people they don't want won't get the vaccine. They'll feed grass and flowers. The people they like who jump on the bandwagon will be just fine. The big reset of humanity right there.
Yeah, that makes logistical sense, I suppose. But, you really, I don't think the elite class could yet enjoy their lives the way they do now without having a robust population. I think the workers that do the power plants, the sewage, provide the restaurants and all that stuff, it's not able to be fulfilled by AI. It's not. You need people to perform the manual labor that sustains the lifestyles of the oligarchs.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what they have. I don't know what capabilities they have. Trump warned us, this is from Travis again. Trump warned us that the HQC, hydroxychloroquine, I think, and ivermectin, including vitamins, will take care of it. He took heat as Fauci was calling for a vaccine and distancing and masks in which none help but caused harm. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
You can't even argue that.
The U.S. ambassador to the Free Republic of Liberland was in El Salvador when he caught COVID, and the government treated him with ivermectin.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see how other governments reacted.
That's another thing. I want to talk about Bukele for a minute. That guy's a phenom.
Yeah, he's got like 90% support from the population.
Yep. And they swept every office except for the, what is it? The office that makes sure votes are counted correctly, which is genius move. You don't sweep that. You keep that in the opposition. And that way everyone says it must be real because those guys hate him and they say it was real. Yeah. Bukele, he's man, El Salvador's turned it around. I hope El Salvador has enough that they can build a robust economy. And I think maybe modern day colonialism might start in reverse. Don't come here first. Go practice it in England and then come here.
I do know, I hear reports from people that say the surrounding countries will sometimes, instead of coming to the Americas to become illegal immigrants, will actually go to El Salvador now.
Oh, I'll bet. I'll bet. You can go there and safely start commerce.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they go there? And then they're looking at one, they're diving into Bitcoin. That's a bonus. They've got that volcano power plant thing they're working on. I mean,
Volcano City. Yep.
yeah, if they can harvest that and start making electricity out of a volcano, it's just genius maneuver. I would like to go there sometime and see what it looks like. That'd be a fun trip.
If you want to, we should definitely plan one.
Yeah.
I'm game for it. It's been something I've been saying I want to do for time and time again.
Yeah. I would love to plan a trip to El Salvador and just check it out. Because, I mean, the guy is genius. He just went in and said, no more of this. No more of this on the population. And you have to pay a price when you do that. El Salvador's paying that price. But it makes up for it on the backside, because prior to that, that price was paid in suffering economics. And you allow economics to grow, and the economics has the return so that you can pay the price. And you say, these monsters and abusers, they're no longer on our streets. And I'm sure innocent people have been trapped in that system. I'm sure it happens. But I mean, he's making me think maybe the full on, crazy right wing way is the way to do it. Libertarianism is the pipe dream. We need to lean into the hardcore.
I think he's very libertarian, though. I mean, he's having to implement procedures that go in and get the bad guys. He's got to do that because they were overrun.
And then when he made his whole cabinet got investigated for corruption. Oh.
And their population is like 6.3 million people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a little over the population of Utah.
Yeah, yeah. We're talking, it's Utah and, what is it? Utah and probably Wyoming.
For a whole country. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not a great big country, but man, gives them a chance. Travis says he is a great leader. They were once one of the wealthiest countries, and within a couple of years was one of the poorest. And now with their new president, it's turning it around. Yeah. I mean, Venezuela went the opposite way. They leaned hard left, and they're done. Venezuela is done. I mean, you know a country's failing when you've eaten all your zoo animals.
And the weird thing about Venezuela is they went full crypto as well. I remember we had that one girl working for us doing the graphics, and she was Venezuelan, and she thought it was weird when she watched the show that you had doubts that this stuff could work in the economy. She actually was questioning me about that.
Well,
And
Venezuela went crypto for the other reason.
they had to, yeah.
Because Mexico said, no, we're not printing you another round of Venezuelan dollars. Or were they bolivars?
Bolivars, yes.
Yeah. We're not printing you any more bolivars because you didn't pay us for the first round. And then Cuba said, no, we're not printing them either. When Cuba tells you we're not making your fake stuff, you know you've done something wrong. My argument with crypto being implemented in mass is not that it wouldn't work, is that you can't get it implemented in mass when the average person doesn't have $400 savings in their bank and there's nowhere to spend it. That means that they could put $400 in there. That means they don't get to do anything fun for the year or for that month, right? And they can't pay any bills with it, which means there's almost a direct line from the employer to the vendor of whatever, whether it's their gas, their electricity, their car payment, their house payment, their internet, right? They're just a stop in between. I think crypto works when the money stays with them for a longer period of time. So if the payer pays you $10 and you turn around the day he pays you $10 and you have to give, $9.50 away, there's nothing left over to throw into Bitcoin. I said, the minute any of those vendors accept Bitcoin, the apple cart's over. The minute you can pay a house payment with Bitcoin, buy food with it, buy gas with it, the minute that happens, it's over for fiat.
Well, I think it took the collapse of the entire economy all at once to really shake it into that position.
And I'm afraid we're going to end up there.
I found it very interesting that she found it interesting that we thought maybe it couldn't work because that's their preferred method of payment now in that country.
It's the only stable method. It's the only method of payment that you're not going to lose value in as you walk over to the next, walk over to the gas company. Because that's the way it is with their bolivars. That's the way it was with the Zimbabwe dollar. As you walked from the bank to the baker, you lost money just walking there because its value declined. Travis says, have you noticed that every American bank and every other country is selling off their U.S. bonds and buying gold? Yes, I have. China's on a spree of getting rid of bonds and buying gold. And I mean, how long before they're getting rid of those bonds in depleted markets to where they've got a bond valued at X and they're willing to get rid of it at Y just to get it gone?
How's Tooele's economy doing besides having trans shows at the Tooele market? Is anything improving there since I left, or is the housing prices getting any better?
No, it's all the same. I think our prices we're dealing with are a national thing. Our supply lines have been disrupted nationally. I think the prices are the same. I think the housing market's starting to show some signs that they're recognizing they can't sell houses at that inflated price. I've seen some houses go up that appear to be a little lower than they were. Not a lot, not what they should be, but appear to be a little lower. But we're still seeing houses on the market for a very long time. And, like Karma Cafe, they opened that cafe there on Main Street. They closed down a couple months ago and no one's filled that gap yet. So, to see that real estate kind of boarded up for months is that shows that people are nervous about jumping into starting off a new venture.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that someone can just let that sit there rather than lowering the price of rent to the point where someone will jump on it.
Making a deal with them, going out and finding someone, say, hey, open up something here. I've got this real estate that just cost me money. Open up something, So I don't know. All right. Travis says, got to go. Thank you for another great show. Keep on keeping on. See you in June. Yep. I'll be at the course. For everyone wondering, we got a Shield Maidens uh, basic pistol self-defense, concealed carry self-defense course coming up. It's June, what is it, 22nd? I'd have to look at a calendar.
Are you still teaching those courses, Jared?
Yeah. Yeah. June, I think it's 22nd and 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a Saturday, Sunday?
Oh, you got me. I lost count of the days as they go by. So
June, 22nd, 23rd. So, yeah, that'll be going on. It's a really good course. It'll be in Stockton right now. It sounds like the Grantsville police range may be down and out for the count because they're going to be building houses right on top of it any minute now. But it's a good course. If anyone's interested in honing their skills, learning some skills, and the skills aren't just about, being a Wild West gunfighter. They're going to teach you a lot of safety involved with if you're going to carry a weapon on you at all times, and you're going to take your own self-defense into your own hands. You're going to take responsibility for yourself in that manner. How to do that, and Dave will hear this, so he's going to be all happy. How to do that in the most safe and effective manner possible. So they're going to teach you how to best equip yourself to not have an accident and injure yourself. So, just if you guys are interested in that, you can go to defensesense.com, I believe it is, or go to O'Malley May on Facebook, or reach out to me. I'll get you in link with them, and I'll also share their different pages in here. But yeah, I think if you're going to take your own self-defense, if you're going to take charge of that, I think you should pursue a course. It doesn't have to be this one, and it doesn't have to be one that I teach at. I think you should pursue some form of training, because no matter what level you're at, any course you go to, you're going to walk away with something, with a lesson that you can apply. Sometimes you walk away with bad lessons, seeing someone do something wrong that you pick up on. But yeah, I think you should pursue it. And this is a good one. I happen to stand by it, and I'm also an instructor at it. And so, I don't know. That's just my opinion on it.
it's definitely a subject that should be taught in public schools. I think gun safety is one of those things that's just more valuable in America than anywhere else, because we have a Second Amendment.
I agree 100%. On Facebook, Jeff says Fauci broke the rules, and Pfizer, China, who everybody found a way to monopolize on it. This is why we shouldn't break the rules. Yeah, but Fauci, he had a whole bunch of patents involved with those monoclonal thingies, right?
Here's the thing, though. He may have broken the rules, but was there negative consequences for it? Because
No.
as far as I can tell, maybe we should break rules, because it seems very profitable according to the way Fauci lives his life. And it would be nice to see that these court cases come to something, but I just don't have much confidence in the legal system.
They're not even court cases. They're just congressional hearings. The only way congressional hearing has teeth is if the DOJ decides to follow along with it. Right now, it's the Republicans in Congress that's calling them to the floor, and the Democrats run the DOJ, and they don't care.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic that I feel will go nowhere. The profit has gained. Fauci won, and unfortunately, especially if Biden wins again, it's just going to be another episode buried in the sands of time that will decay throughout history and probably be written in the books as Fauci was a hero and saved America from bat soup. And that's just it's sad, but it is the reality of it.
Yeah, it is. You're 100% right on that. God, it's crazy. But yeah, he cruised with patents on those, what is it, the monoclonal antibodies? And so he gets paid millions of dollars because he made a patent and then designed a disease, or had a disease designed, where his patents came into effect. Was it on those or was it on the mRNA? I can't remember, but man, it's just like,
He definitely had something to do with the vaccine or some sort of an investment in it, if
yeah,
I remember right.
yeah. And it's just crazy. It's like, is there,
Now I know people will say, "Oh, Trump needs to admit to his faults about not firing Fauci," but here's where I can't blame Trump is the fact that we were just recently attacked with the bioweapon. He didn't know how this thing was going to play out. When you're attacked by a bioweapon, it takes time to figure out the effectiveness of a bioweapon. It's not like a chemical weapon where you drop dead quick. It's not like radioactivity where you can measure it. Bioweapons are they're an animal that is unique to themselves in the fact that you never know how effective they're going to be until time goes on. You
it's
can't
very true.
determine a status at the beginning of the attack.
My big thing with Trump is I think Trump needs to come out and say, hey, look, I'm not going to keep a Fauci around. I'm not going to bring a Bolton into my cabinet. I'm not going to do any of that. He's like, I'm not going to bring back the same people that got us into the mix the first time.
I'm pretty sure Fauci would retire if Trump won.
Well,
I'm
yeah, but
almost
no,
positive.
but I'm talking about people like that. You know, he brought Bolton into his cabinet. Bolton, that just a big war hawk and wants us to invade everywhere. Well, that's not Trump's message. Trump shouldn't have brought him in. Bolton is one of the guys that was involved in us going into Iraq for BS reasons.
Mhm.
That's, I mean, and I'll tell you, our economic woes are every bit from us going into Iraq, because how much did our how much did our debt increase because of Iraq?
Jeez, billions. And you
It's
know what?
probably one of the most expensive things we've probably the most expensive thing that any nation in the history of the world has ever done.
And don't forget, we were fighting a war on two prongs. You're in Afghanistan and Iraq at the same time, spreading your
Mm-hmm.
resources thinner and thinner, and you
Mm-hmm.
have the legalese of whatever political bullcraps being thrown at you at the time. So
Yeah.
it's it really it definitely didn't feel like it was a winnable situation from the beginning. And
Yeah.
again,
What was the defined plan with that? We're going to go over there, destroy their cities, like send them back into the Stone Age, and then we're going to give them democracy, and that's going to work. It's good. Democracy is going to work in the Stone Age. Anybody drink that in. Was democracy a Stone Age technology?
well, not only
Strongman
that,
was.
our most effective tools, the contractors of Blackwater and those types of
Halliburton.
institutions, we weren't allowing them to operate properly. We would arrest them for crimes in a war zone or something. How do you commit crimes in a war zone? I don't even. It's if you're not willing to send your troops into a war zone and let them do what they got to do, then I think that we're negligent. You got to accept that people are going to get hurt if you send the American troops in the fight. And I think our expectations of what we can do as troops are a little too high. You're gonna have rapes. You're gonna have children murdered. You're gonna have a lot of horrible things happen. And you know what? If you're not willing to accept that, then don't send the troops to war. You should only send troops to war if you're prepared to unleash the hell that we are going to inflict upon our enemies for our own survival purposes.
What if neither of those wars, Iraq or Afghanistan, was about doing anything over there except feeding the military industrial complex over here where everyone in the Congress and Senate is invested?
Well, that seems to be how it works.
I mean, Nancy Pelosi makes what, 178,000 a year, and she's worth millions. The
But yet,
numbers don't add up.
but yet Trump is the bad guy. It's like
But the,
it's
the, the
crazy.
all of them. It's not even about Trump. It's about all of them. Bush and Hatch even back then. It's about all of them. The numbers don't add up. It's like
Nancy
we have a
Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, and actually many of our own uh, representatives in Utah, John Curtis, they're really excellent uh, traders. They're fantastic at calling the market and making millions. I guess they can't be insider trading because I'm sure none of those guys would commit such heinous activities. But maybe they're just financial geniuses, Jared. But I'll tell you what, if I was in charge, I'd want to investigate that. And if they were found guilty, they would have to go to a labor camp
the
with the
problem
illegal
is
immigrants.
who's in charge that could make them investigate that. Why we haven't made it so that when you sign up for Congress, you can't invest on the open market, I will never understand.
Well, I don't understand why they get the privilege of insider trading, and I don't.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to invest. They should be able to invest in the exact thing that government employees do. They should be able to say, okay, everyone, you've got to give up your investments. Your husband and your children and your parents have to give up theirs. Oh, well, that's unconstitutional. Okay, then don't run because this is a voluntary job. And to be in this voluntary job, you have to go to your family members and you all have to agree to this. And that's that. And they say, oh, well, I've already got 5 million in investments. Okay, your investments get rolled into a mutual fund that has a safe common growth for the time you're in. And that's what it is. We have a 12% growth model year over year. That's where it goes, one that everyone uses. I suggest the TSP, the Thrift Savings Plan, because imagine what that would do for you government employees, TSP, if you got a big boost like that every 4 years, new money coming in and new money rolling out,
I
right?
think I think that they should definitely not be allowed to trade stocks while they're in office,
Just like that. And
or
so
hold them. They should have to liquidate if they go in
they
for
just,
sure.
yeah, they have
But
to give
beyond
it
that,
up. They have to give it up. And then they have the choice, if they want, they can move that money into a mutual fund or a thrift savings plan or whatever. And they can stay in there and ride that for the time they're in. After you're in, you can get back into trading. That's fine. But while you're in, you can't be involved in it. That, I think we also need to do away with Citizens United. We need to kill that. That is the bill that's destroying us.
I think term limits would have a very effective feature to the republic if allowed to be implemented. But a lot of people disagree with me on that, and
Yeah, I'm back and
get
forth.
us
I
started.
kind of agree. I'm back and forth on it. I think also, I mean, term limits, however you work it out, but I also like the idea of if your people get pissed off at you, they can actually vote you out. They can vote someone else and not just have you term limit out. But I mean, you can go either way on that. But we've got to express that this is a voluntary venture. You're not forced into it. It's a voluntary venture. And while you're here, you can't do X, Y, or Z. You can't stick a cigar in a taco. You can't do this. You can't do that because you're volunteering. Just like when people join the military, you know, if you join the military, you can't do this. You can't do that. It's a voluntary venture. You're giving up your liberties to be you know, to be, to serve your community, to serve your nation.
I've never had a cigar flavored taco, but I don't know how illegal that should be.
You got to ask Bill Clinton about that.
So, yeah, I'll be honest. Bill Clinton, had he just admitted what he did, I don't think I would have a big deal about it. But it
I
was
don't
the
have
fact
a
that
big
he lied.
I don't have a big deal about it from the get. I mean, I really don't. I think it was a witch hunt, just like the witch hunt we're going through now.
Well, I have to give credit
And
to
it
the
hurt the
Democrats.
Republicans.
Well, yeah, and not only that, it hurt Monica Lewinsky. I mean, she became the bad guy.
Yeah.
How does that work? How do you take that situation?
She was
And
what, 19?
I thought the women's movement was going to turn Bill Clinton into a nuclear shadow.
Oh, come on. You know they don't do that. The women's movement is just communism in a skirt.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I have to say that is amazing political maneuvering, making Monica Lewinsky look like the bad guy in that scenario. How do you do that? I don't know.
They wiped her out of polite society for what, 20 years?
Mm-hmm. She's not even in society now, as far as I know. I mean, shouldn't she be going on like Tucker Carlson and shit? No, she doesn't.
She first started coming back into society in what was it, 2016, for a blip, and Trump brought her in. And I'll bet the reason she's not going on Tucker is because I think she's still a Democrat.
Well, that would be the most retarded thing I could ever think of.
I did say she's a Democrat. I don't know why you're repeating my words back to me. Have you ever seen that comedian who has a sign language guy? And the sign for retard and Democrat is the same sign or super similar. Let's see if I can find it.
And you always point this out, but like the Democratic Party back in say 1980s, early 90s was very similar to where Trump is today.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I always say Trump's my favorite Democrat. I don't think he's changed that much from last time I saw him on the Oprah Winfrey show in the 1980s, right? So it's interesting to see how these things flip. And I mean, even looking at the black vote, still I'm so amazed that so many are willing to vote Democrat after suffering under the yoke of slavery of the Democratic Party, or at least their ancestors did, and still backing that. It's almost like Jews turning into Nazis and wearing the armbands. It amazes
me. They sold them on that initially with the farm bill that came out in 41, and then honestly, when they broke the family, that did it. When they broke the family in the 60s with the the Great Society of Johnson finished it off.
Still, I look at that as political voodoo magic. It's the same thing they did to Monica Lewinsky. They made her the bad guy.
You take the men out of the home. You take the male role model out of the home. Democrats are female political theory. They operate under the female political theory. Everything Democrats do, everything the progressives do, we're in a female-centric world right now. The colleges, your schools, all that. They act like angry school marms. You take the male out of the home. In the 60s, you destroy the black and inner city communities. You destroy them with that. And that's what we get. We get exactly this. What they did is they went in there. What was that guy that ran for governor in California, the black guy? Why do I always forget his name? Walter Williams talked about it. Thomas Sowell talked about it. But they went in there and they said, hey, if the husband's not here, the government will give you money. So poof, the husbands disappear. Kids no longer have a father. They no longer have a male role model. Males, females teach you a lot of good lessons you need in life. Males teach you a different set of lessons. Females teach you how to operate within your small community, within your home. Males teach you how to operate outside of that. They've forgotten how to operate outside of that. And that's why our inner cities are falling to crap. That's why in the 90s, I mean, almost 30 years to the T after they removed them from there and it got set in their culture, you had this huge spike in murder rates in the cities. It's what it is. They removed the role models that taught people how to operate outside of the home and outside of the community, how to interact with the world. They removed them, and that lesson was never learned.
I guess so. I just figured people could hold ancestral grudges longer than that. I was,
But why wasn't it there from 40 to 63, an ancestral grudge? Because the grudge, if you've got a grudge against someone and your play is to take it out on your own community, you're doing it wrong. Right? Because the inner city, they're not destroying me. They're not destroying the average, white community. They're destroying themselves. And it's because
I would argue that when one city fails, other cities around it fail too. It's not just them failing by themselves.
Sure, other cities fail, but what did the Democrats do? The Democrats destroyed LA, San Francisco, and New York City, right? Those are the main cities. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all of Pennsylvania, right? They destroyed them, but they made successes in their destruction, such as Miami, such as Austin, Dallas, Phoenix, Salt Lake City.
Can you think of positive things that the Democratic Party has done to make the country better?
Oh, boy. God dang.
I feel like we kind of hit and dig on them a little harder than we should. There's
Positive
things.
Positive things they've done.
Were they airbags? Did they do airbags?
That was Ralph Nader. No, actually, it was the free market that did that. Ralph Nader wanted to force it, but the free market just did it because everyone wanted to buy the car with airbags. Positive things the Democrats have done. Are we talking historically, like all the way back? Because it was a Democrat that tore down the first bank of the United States. That was Jackson.
That's too far back. Yeah.
Do we just want to do our lifetimes?
We can do our lifetime plus one. How about that?
I mean, like I could go with, I think, I know this is a complicated one, but I don't think the gay marriage was a bad thing. I think what they should have done was go whole hog and say, government's not involved with marriage. That's a court thing. You go down to the courthouse and you sign up for whatever level of, association you want to sign up for, business arrangement. And then you go to whatever religious entity or whatever, have them perform a union.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there.
Because the one size fits all on marriage isn't working. Is Patricia off the side yelling at me?
No, she went to the bathroom and gave me a dirty look and left. So we're good.
Does she want to hear about me talking about how we live in a women government right now?
It's true, we do. Yeah, we do. I mean, I told you my story when I went to watch the inauguration of Donald Trump in 2000. Was it 15, 16?
It would have been 16.
Yeah. So we go to DC, And I'm noticing all the field trips that are going into the congressional buildings, all the intern wannabes, people that want to study the political science. They're all there touring DC. And I would say the ratio was 1 to 10. 10 women for every guy involved with these little field trips that these students are having. And again, the aides to our politicians, I would say the ratio is pretty damn slanted towards the female, which means our future generation of leaders, I think it's inevitable they will be the females because they're taking the most interest in politics.
How many aides do you think moved from being an aide into being a politician? Do we know of any politicians that kicked off as an aide?
Celeste Malloy,
Well, was she an aide or did she work in the office as a legal officer?
she aided
She
as
aided.
legal. I mean, you're involved with that, you know.
You're
So
true. I mean, Mike Lee, he clerked for what was that justice's name that died?
hmm yep.
So you may be right. It's a crazy world. It's a profession that it's the last profession where you get an internship that's for real to go do the job.
Yeah, and it's I don't know if it's good or bad or what the future will bring with that, but there is a certain aspect that men bring to leadership that I think is important for a world such as ours because it's so barbaric and uncivil on the outside. I think we're inside of a big bubble of love and hugs. And everyone
Well,
thinks it's like this on the outside. It's not.
you're right. Not to hark on this, but right after the 19th Amendment passed, we started getting social programs come in. Social programs reigned. They almost never lose. That's women or gynocentric government want social programs. They want to take care of everyone. They want to tuck everyone in at night.
Well, look at Tooele. For example, I was not for the bond to enslave us for bigger schools. Right? I'm not going to lie.
you
I was not.
you have not seen how big that school is, bro.
But
Dude, 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 if you saw this, you would pop your head off your body. It is massive and it is a huge rolling roof and all this architecture monstrosity. It makes Tooele High School, and it's not even built yet. And Tooele High School's half its size.
yeah, and I voted no on that bond over and over again. But what they do is they just continuously propose it, maybe tweak it just a little bit, and then they guilt all the moms and the ladies. The ladies will carry the vote. Women usually do vote more than men, and that's one of those issues where you can just pluck the heartstring really hard on the female population, and no matter what, you're going to go into debt for that kind of a cause. It just seems like it's a losing proposition for society. They'll continuously offer things we can't afford and sell them in ways that seem like it's possible for you and I to pay it off.
Tomorrow, I'm sending you a picture of that school because I'm not even explaining it right.
Do you know why they always ask on the phone when they're trying to sell a timeshare? They're always saying, "Are you married? And if you're married, do you have to bring your wife?" So there's a reason. There's a reason why. There's a psychological reason why they want that, and that's
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, bring your wife. We're going to sell it to her. You're just the rider. Fred says, man bashing started back in the early 90s. I said then that it is dangerous for everyone to discredit men. Our society needs what men can bring to bear. 100%. Look, there are two strengths in the feminine and the masculine. The feminine keeps your home in order. It keeps your family secure. It builds the bond that strengthens the family. Men is how a family interacts outside of the home. You'll have a husband and wife where the husband's has that keeping the home in order energy and the wife has the exterior energy, but it's just the two energies. And you need to be able to function outside of the home. And it's been going on since the 60s. It's been destroying us. Right now, what is it? 74% of the Black community is born without a father in the home. How many of them don't even know of the father at all? It's insane. So, yeah, and the father, I mean, he was probably raised in the same situation, but a man teaches you how to take on a different adversity, how to push through, how to make that calm and measured decision in the moment of crisis. But that's being lost in some communities. And then we wonder why whenever they get into crisis, they go right to extreme violence. They go to eliminating each other.
It's a scary thought, but yeah, that is usually how people who panic and can't control themselves operate.
Sociologists have studied this for a long time. They know this. You can go read books and books on it. And as we go deeper and deeper into it, and we start getting to the end of our civilization, you start seeing all the other fun stuff come up. We're not the first nation to ever exist. We're not the first empire. There's histories and recorded histories of all this. And anyone, just go crack a book about when Rome fell, what the culture was like. When Greece fell, what the culture was like. Go read it. You're going to go, oh, really? That's how it is? You're going to go read it. People start becoming androgynous. There starts being a lot of cross-dressing. There's art dies. How's our movies coming out now? Is there any good movies being made? Any good books? Any good art and entertainment? No, it's all died.
Have you ever seen the person that Disney put in charge of the Star Wars series? Have you ever read about her or seen her interview?
Oh, Kathleen Kennedy?
Is that her name?
Yeah.
She's I can't even watch the Star Wars series anymore. It used to be like my favorite stuff, but it's gone so far woke that it's almost frightening.
Well, let's even leave the woke out of it. It doesn't have a compelling story that draws you in.
No.
A girl found on the desert is awesome at everything. The end. Let's change it. A boy found in the desert is awesome at everything. Never fails. The end. That's the story. Where's the struggle? Where's the lessons learned? You know, the first time she sits down in a pilot seat, she's the best pilot. She's a better pilot than the owner of the ship. The first time. Like, there's no struggle. She's just magically perfect at everything. What? Why are you drawn in to watch it? There's nothing to watch.
Yeah, I think back to like the old plots where, remember Empire Strikes Back, where they cut open that little dinosaur's belly and put Skywalker into the. There's nothing even a tad bit controversial like that.
He gets his hand cut off in the same movie.
That was the one after that, but yeah.
No, it was the same movie. He gets his hand cut off.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're right.
Yeah. You know what she does? She has an awkward kiss with
her brother,
Luke Skywalker's nephew. I mean, she's Palpatine's granddaughter, so I don't know how that all works out. But no, there's no controversy. Travis said Nancy made $7 million off the last bill passed for Ukraine. Dude, how much money gets funneled back just to vote blue?
And
Do
yet
the
we can't get them to
Republicans
have a
have?
trial. We can't get them to prosecute or investigate. And that right there just shows you that really we have no control over what we're told is our government. We don't.
I'm
It's no
telling you,
different. No different
they're
than Canada.
they're robbing us blind as we collapse. They're just eking out as much as they can. Yes, it's all fake money, so they're not really taking it from us, but they're amassing wealth while we collapse. Every year, our outcomes get worse and worse, and every year they get richer and richer. That's just
Yeah.
where we are.
How is the political arena looking for this time around in Utah? Who's looking to take Congress seats in the other districts?
In the other districts, what was the guy's name? We had him in here. He actually gave me a gold back. I got to remember the guy's name. I'm awful with name, but yeah, he brought me a gold back dollar. These are cool. The gold back idea, I really like it. I just think they're very pretty. They're very, interesting idea. I'd like to see them go further. If we could get more companies on that, I think that'd be another. But again, I mean, the only time people start questioning their currency is when their currency is crashing. No one
Yeah.
questioned our currency in the 50s. Our currency was dominating. Everyone's like, shit, the dollar? Give me a dollar. I gotta have it. Something's awry when people start going, hey, can I buy this with my dollar? Can I trade my dollar for that? Because I don't want this dollar anymore.
Speaking of that, I went to that Daytona 500 arena to watch the races and bike races and stuff.
Did you go watch that? Was that cool?
It was cool, but
Dude.
I go in there and I'm like, I want to buy a beer, and I whip out my money. They're like, no, we don't take money. They
Only
won't
card?
take money, just cards. Yeah. So there's literally businesses that are refusing to take dollar bills and hard currency.
Remember during COVID, they wouldn't take coinage at a lot of places? Do you remember when that kicked off?
Shouldn't that be illegal? I mean, if anything, it should be illegal. Shouldn't
Technically, it is because it's called legal tender.
Mm.
But who's going to enforce it? What are you going to do? You going to call the Fed, call the Secret Service? Hey, they're not taking my dollars. And the Secret Service is going to drop everything they're doing and come and make sure that no. And there's multiple reasons why someone would say we don't take cash. One, what if I've got an employee that, he's a dirtbag, but I trust him if I put a little chip reader on a little iPad and bolt the iPad to the wall. He can't steal that stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Well, this is the march to the
CBDC.
BCD. Yeah, this is how it slowly goes there. So if we don't speak up about companies not being willing to take paper currency that is legally printed in our country, if people are allowed to just let that go, then you're ready for a CBCD. You're ready.
Like I said, dude, I don't know. I look down the road and I don't know if we've got I I don't know what the long-term prospects for, and it's not just here, it's everywhere. I think we're having an upset of like a global culture, because China, they're in collapse, you know, and Russia. And another thing about Russia, I was thinking about this the other day, the hard pivot. So I'm thinking all the way back to when Romney challenged Obama, and Romney said, our greatest threat on the world stage is Russia. And Obama said, 1980s called, they want their foreign policy back. And I'm thinking, the progressives have never let go of Russia as being the bad guy. And Romney's, I consider him a progressive. Obama is a progressive, but he's a progressive for, and he turned against Russia immediately also. He went and did exactly what he said, what he teased Romney about. And I'm wondering, like, why are they so hard on Russia? And I thought, let me set the stage. So you've got a political ideology that has to make white males the bad guy, right? Am I wrong about that? Or do progressives at every turn seek to make white males bad guys?
Maybe every other corner. Yeah.
Where's a corner they didn't?
I'm sure there's one we can find.
Okay, let's just call it what it is. Every corner, white males are the bad guys. Melanin is good, and non-melanin, you're automatically evil. And this isn't a call out against black people. I mean, I see black people like every other person. I do. If you're upstanding, whatever, then you're upstanding. If you're not, you're not. I don't care what color you are, what creed, race, religion, because I don't pack that baggage on me. But progressives, so I'm wondering, did they go after Russia because Russia is, one, substantially nuclear armed, and white? Because it feels like, when you look at the history of it, it feels like they've been goading at Russia, like aiming at Russia the whole time. And maybe it's not intentional. Maybe it's just ingrained in them from their higher education standpoint.
Check your cell phone, Jared. Yeah, I totally get it, Jared. Totally get it. This is where we are today. How we recover, this I don't know. But
Don't know if we can.
we're going to ride this ship until the end.
Yep.
I'll tell you that.
But anyways, I got to cut Dave loose, and I'm going to get out of here early. Not to mention, it's only 23 minutes before the show ends. But yeah, I seriously think that they did a hard pivot out of the Middle East because the progressive means had made it so that if you're brown, you're a good guy, and if you're white, you're a bad guy. And they went hard at Russia. Hard at them. Anyways, everyone, that's the show. Dave, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, Political Head Trauma.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
the
it's a
Head
good
Trauma
time
Head
to
of
hang out with
Podcast.
you.
All right, you guys have a great day and enjoy the extra 2 hours that you got over me.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Take her easy. Say hi to Patricia for me.
Will do. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. All right, everyone. That was David Weiss. I don't know. Maybe I talked crazy tonight, but that's just something that popped in my head. I hope everyone has a good weekend. Stay safe. Holly should be back next week unless, I don't know, unless Patriot Camp turns into Patriot Forever. Yeah, you guys have a